Chapter 1. Escaping Alive. All of Greed's hair stood up. He didn't feel this close to death even when he was caught by the celestial couple Wang Wei and Hu Wan. That illusion finger seemed to be formed from the heavenly Tao. It felt like it was one with the heavens. This wasn't as simply Tao a cultivator could comprehend. In fact, it was countless times stronger than a Tao an individual could comprehend. Although the peak of Greed's cultivation was only illusory yin, his connections were extraordinary. He had a lot of acquaintances in the second step, so he knew a lot of secrets about the second step. He was able to tell at a glance the terrifying Tao contained within this finger. One finger pointed forth. It seemed like a gentle breeze without any fluctuations at all. It was just as if a mortal was gently pointing with their finger. However, this point caused Wang Lin's pupils to shrink. He felt like his origin soul was about to rush out of his body to meet that finger. Greed was the closest to it, so this feeling was over 100 times stronger for him. He backed up into the mountain and river screen without any hesitation. At this moment, the mountain and river took over the area as if space was gone. However, even so, the finger still penetrated through the mountain and river as it pressed down. Sounds of cracking came from the screen, and then countless cracks appeared on it. Greed coughed out a large mouthful of blood as he quickly retreated. He continued to cough out blood. His injuries were too great. The finger from the ancient god didn't stop and pressed down on Greed. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he stared at the mountain and river screen that had cracked but still contained its power. His eyes revealed a strange light. When he saw the finger going toward Greed, Wang Lin clenched his teeth. He left the bone with the celestial guard and charged out as if he was teleporting. His speed was extremely fast, so he arrived next to the screen in the blink of an eye. Right now, Greed couldn't bother with Wang Lin stealing his treasure. He moved at full speed to escape. The ancient god finger suddenly stopped and slowly turned as if it was locking onto Wang Lin. Wang Lin's scalp tingled. Without any hesitation, he gathered all of his celestial spiritual energy in his right finger and shouted, "Stop!" His target wasn't the ancient god finger, but Greed. Greed's eyes were bloodshot, and his body suddenly stopped for a moment. He cursed loudly in his heart. Although he had only stopped for a moment, it attracted the attention of the ancient god finger. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Wang Lin grabbed the screen and put it into his bag of holding. Then he retreated without any hesitation. His heart was pounding hard. The danger before him hadn't passed. He moved extremely fast toward the celestial guard. The celestial guard had never stopped escaping. However, in the face of the giant moongazer serpent and ancient god finger, its speed was obviously not enough. Greed's face was extremely pale. As the ancient god finger closed in, Greed immediately slapped his bag of holding, and a shining crown appeared. It was like the crown of a mortal emperor with 5 jewels socketed in it. The powers of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth suddenly flowed from the crown. He put the crown on his head without any hesitation. The golden light from the crown was blinding, but it wrapped around Greed like water. Then a huge shadow suddenly appeared over his body. This shadow didn't have a clear appearance but wore a dragon robe. A sense of majesty suddenly surrounded the area. Greed shouted. In order to activate the celestial emperor crown, this old man killed 999 mortal emperors and fused their souls inside the crown to meet the requirements to activate it. I want to see if it can resist the finger from you, vile beast. The illusion of the ancient god finger landed on Greed. A bang that shocked the heavens echoed the area. The ancient god finger didn't change. After it pressed down on Greed, it immediately withdrew. As for Greed, his face was even more pale, and the golden light surrounding him collapsed. The souls of 9,999 emperors suddenly vanished, and the crown fell from his head. The strange thing was that the crown was perfectly fine after taking a blow from the ancient god finger. A powerful force entered Greed's body like crazy. His body trembled, then it gave off a rainbow-colored light before flying away like a meteor. Whether he was dead or alive was unknown as he disappeared among the stars. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with terror. When the ancient god finger pressed down on Greed, he didn't stop running at all and continued to escape. However, at this moment, the illusionary ancient god finger suddenly appeared behind Wang Lin. The familiar aura of an ancient god suddenly surrounded the area. One finger pressed down. The target of this finger wasn't the celestial guard but Wang Lin. Wang Lin almost lost his wits. This finger was too fast and it was quickly closing in. In the midst of this crisis, Wang Lin's eyes became cold, and he placed his hand on the celestial guard. He extracted the slaughter energy from the celestial guard. In an instant, almost 1 million strands of slaughter energy appeared. They transformed into life seals to block the ancient god finger. The life seals all collapsed as if they were fragile pieces of paper. It didn't matter how much slaughter energy was used, all of it was powerless before the ancient god finger. Wang Lin's expression was pale, but there was no panic in his eyes. He slapped his bag of holding as he retreated with the celestial guard, and the second celestial guard appeared before him as a shield. The ancient god finger pressed down on the second celestial guard. The second celestial guard trembled and began to rapidly break down. After the second celestial guard shattered, the ancient god finger stopped 7 inches away from Wang Lin's body. A feeling of his body shattering surged through Wang Lin like crazy. The feeling of going through a life and death crisis made it hard for him to breathe. Wang Lin let out an angry roar and raised his head. One ray of Ling Tianhu's sword energy suddenly charged out and collided with the finger. Ling Tianhu's sword energy contained a certain amount of power, so it slowed the finger by a bit. However, the finger pressed down once more without hesitation, and this time it landed on Wang Lin's chest. An intense pain came from Wang Lin's chest and instantly spread across his body. At this moment, Wang Lin's body collapsed. First it was his flesh, then his bones all turned to dust and vanished without a trace. The ancient god finger destroyed Wang Lin's body, but it didn't stop there. It pressed down on Wang Lin's origin soul next. This moongazer serpent was set on wiping him out. Just at this instant, Wang Lin suddenly felt that feeling that made his origin soul unable to leave his body after he devoured that ancient thunder dragon. It was as if there was a thin barrier blocking him. No matter how much he tried, he couldn't break through the barrier. It was as if his origin soul had lost the ability to. His origin soul was confined in his body, which made it impossible for him to use certain spells. However, at this moment, when the ancient god finger closed in and destroyed his body, it also destroyed that barrier. Wang Lin's origin soul gave off intense lighting and turned into an ancient thunder dragon that roared at the ancient god finger. As it roared, countless balls of thunder appeared and attacked the ancient god finger. Borrowing the moment the ancient god finger slowed down, Wang Lin grabbed the bag of holding that fell after his body collapsed. When his origin soul turned into a thunder dragon, he became several times faster than his body. He took the celestial guard and half the bone before quickly escaping. While he was escaping, he felt a sense of bitterness. However, just at this moment, he saw the crown left behind by greed just floating there. His heart skipped a beat as he put the crown into his bag and left without even looking back. The ancient god finger slowly dissipated. The giant moongazer serpent looked at the distant Wang Lin and pondered. It then looked at the furnace his tentacles were holding. After hesitating a bit, it chased after Wang Lin. Wang Lin couldn't help but curse when he noticed the moongazer serpent chasing after him. Wang Lin had to admit he was reckless this time. He didn't expect greed to appear here and excited to the point of awakening. Otherwise, according to Wang Lin's original calculations, he wouldn't have been in such a sorry state. He had lost too much on this trip. The 7-star sword formation was destroyed, the restriction flag collapsed, one of Ling Tianhu's sword energy rays was used, and even his body was destroyed, leaving only his origin soul. However, his harvest was also great. His origin soul was finally free, half of the moongazer serpent's bone, the celestial mountain and river screen, and finally that crown. He couldn't tell if he ended up gaining or losing. He could only let out a sigh before moving even faster. The moongazer serpent slowly approached. Every time it moved, it would cross an extremely large distance. If Wang Lin was still in his body, he would have already been caught. However, he no longer had his body, and flying with only his origin was several times faster than with his body. As he rushed away, Wang Lin's origin soul entered the star compass and escaped like crazy with half of the moongazer serpent's bone. Wang Lin had no confidence he could escape the ancient god finger through luck once more. If the moongazer serpent caught up, he would die for sure. After his origin soul entered the star compass, his speed reached an unimaginable degree and reached an equilibrium with the moongazer serpent. Although he didn't escape, he managed to keep a certain distance from the moongazer serpent. However, this kind of flying was intensive on Wang Lin's origin soul. His origin soul was already seriously injured. and now his injuries were becoming worse and his origin soul was dimming. Wang Lin rushed across the northern domain and arrived in the southern domain of the Alheaven star system. Moving at full speed for an extended period of time gradually made Wang Lin's origin soul weaker, and he couldn't hold on much longer. However, the Moongazer serpent also slowed down before completely stopping at the border to the southern domain. It let out a few low muffles but didn't dare to cross over. Chapter 717, 2. Thunder Prison. Wang Lin was startled, but then was immediately ecstatic. He sped up, and after a long time, he noticed that the Moongazer serpent was no longer chasing after him. The distance between them was getting larger and larger. Wang Lin let out a big sigh of relief and his eyes revealed trace of lingering fear. This Moongazer serpent is simply too powerful. If not for the fact it's slow, I would have already died. Compared to the one in 2CS memories, aside from their appearance, there was nothing similar between the two. How could that Moongazer serpent be so powerful? Wang Lin turned around at the northern domain and began to ponder. With how strong a Moongazer serpent is, why was it afraid of coming here? Could there be something here that it is terrified of? He couldn't understand and let out a sigh. After checking the state of his origin soul, he let out a bitter smile. Although the origin soul breaking through that barrier is a good thing, I lost my body, and I don't know how long it will take for me to form a new one. If I were to possess a body, there would be too many limitations, and if there are no good bodies, that one be good either. After pondering for a while, Wang Lin stopped hesitating and flew forward. First, I have to find a place to go into closed-door cultivation to refine this bone and see if it can complete the heaven-defying bead. Then I'll have to work on forming a new body. Wang Lin's eyes shined as he charged toward the endless space before him. The Moongazer serpent looked into the distance, and its huge eyes revealed signs of hesitation. After a long time, its large body began to retreat. It seemed to remember that someone had warned it not to go there. However, this memory was from too long ago and was a complete blur. However, that sense was crisis was so powerful that it affected its thought process even more. It gradually backed away, and its tentacles swayed back and forth as it gave off a terrifying pressure. Along the way, many cultivators noticed the Moongazer serpent. However, they only took one look before all their hair on their bodies stood up, and they fell into complete shock. They turned and ran, hating that they couldn't escape faster. The Moongazer serpent stopped somewhere between the 5 main planets of the northern domain, and its body began to slowly curl up into a sphere. The countless tentacles slowly withdrew until they all returned to its body. Bursts of fog came out from the Moongazer serpent's body and surrounded the area. The Moongazer serpent returned back to its second form and began its deep sleep. However, the position it chose this time made the hearts of all the cultivators in the northern domain tremble. This was too close to the 5 main planets. In the northern domain, there was a relatively primitive planet. The spiritual energy on this planet wasn't strong, but there were still mortals living on it. On this day, something fell from the sky. This thing was covered in a rainbow-colored light, and it landed in a plain on the northern part of the planet with a loud bang. All of the bones in Greed's body were broken, and the insides of his body had collapsed. His origin soul was heavily damaged, but he was not dead. Not only did he not die, but his eyes were filled with ecstasy. When he came to the Alheaven star system, his body was filled with brandings. Each of these brandings contained unimaginable power and could easily kill him. However, when the ancient god finger closed in, something mysterious happened and caused all the brandings to simultaneously collapse. Only the All-Seer's branding still remained. As long as I have enough time, I am confident I can recover someday. Greed took a deep breath, slowly sank into the ground and disappeared from the plane. From this day forth on this ordinary planet, all of the inhabitants would smell a faint stench, but no matter how much they searched, they couldn't find the source. It seemed this stench was coming from the earth. Wang Lin was currently flying through the southern domain. He didn't go for the planets with cultivators. He set his eyes on the abandoned planets. His origin soul had a vague feeling that there was a place in the southern domain that made him feel extremely comfortable. He subconsciously flew toward that direction, and as he got closer and closer, it seemed like even his origin soul's injuries were improving. He slowly got closer. When Wang Lin saw the place that made him feel comfortable, his eyes revealed a mysterious light. Before him was an asteroid field. Countless asteroids of all sizes seemed to be held together by a mysterious force. They orbited an area and seemed to form a natural barrier. Wang Lin could feel that the location that made him feel very comfortable was within the depths of this asteroid field. He pondered for a bit and decided not to go himself. He came out from the star compass and held onto the moon-gazer serpent's bone as he controlled the celestial guard to slowly enter the interior of the asteroid field. This asteroid field was extremely large. The celestial guard had flown for a long time, but it still hadn't entered the interior. However, it saw a mysterious scene. There was an abandoned planet. This planet was not very big. It was only half the size of planet Ranyun. However, there were bursts of thunder coming from the planet. It was as if the planet was covered by a net of heavenly thunder. This thunder was endless and continued to descend on the planet. This planet was nameless and was in an extremely remote location of the southern domain. It was also blocked by a dense layer of asteroids, so it was hard to discover from the outside. Wang Lin had left a sliver of divine sense on the celestial guard, so he naturally saw this planet. The comfortable feeling was getting closer and closer. However, he knew that the source of this comfortable feeling wasn't this small planet, but in the depths of this planet. But there was a mysterious force blocking his divine sense and preventing him from examining the planet. Although this was the case, this small planet still gave Wang Lin a comfortable feeling. This place is an excellent place to make a cave. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he took the moon-gazer serpent's bone and headed toward the celestial guard. Soon, the small planet appeared before him. I found this place due to the feeling of my origin soul. When I am here, the injuries to my origin soul heal extremely fast. Wang Lin pondered as the celestial guard cleared the way toward the small planet. Let us stay here for now. After I recover and reform my body, I'll go check out the depths of this place. Wang Lin understood that after devouring the ancient thunder dragon, his origin soul had mutated and all thunder spells had no effect on him. As long as the thunder was not of a higher grade than the ancient thunder dragon-s, it couldn't harm him. Earlier, when his body was destroyed by the ancient god finger, it broke the barrier that was trapping his origin soul inside his body. However, his origin soul was injured, and after that he was too busy escaping, causing the injuries to become worse. Under these circumstances, not even Wang Lin knew why his origin soul sought this place out. However, at this moment, he understood. If an ancient thunder dragon was injured, it would find an environment like this where it could recover fast. It would feel extremely comfortable here and even feel a sense of security. After his body collapsed, his origin soul was free. Right now his origin soul was like an ancient thunder dragon, which was why he was attracted to this place. After understanding karma, Wang Lin's heart was calm. When looking at the small planet filled with thunder, he couldn't help but feel a sense of familiarity, as if this was his hometown. As he continued to move forward, the sound of thunder rumbled in his heart. The dense thunder would sometimes strike Wang Lin, and this made him feel very comfortable. This feeling came from his origin soul, as if there was a hand gently massaging his soul. At this moment, Wang Lin's origin soul emitted a blue light and bursts of thunder entered his body. As he moved, a portion of his origin soul extended to the moon-gazer serpent's bone and made it release a series of crackling sounds. However, the celestial guard immediately stopped. Its eyes revealed a rare sign of hesitation as if it held extreme fear toward thunder. Wang Lin turned around and began to ponder. The celestial guard shouldn't be afraid of thunder. After all, he had used his origin energy to refine the celestial guard, so the guard contained the power of thunder. It had also fought many enemies that used thunder, but never showed the hesitation it did now. Could the thunder here be different? Wang Lin's eyes narrowed as he carefully looked at the thunder around him. After a long time, his eyes revealed enlightenment. The thunder here was formed by the heavens and not by some spell. Its characteristics were extremely similar to Wang Lin's origin soul. No wonder the celestial guard is afraid. Thunder falls into two categories, acquired and innate. Acquired is all thunder formed by spells. Innate is not formed by spells but naturally formed by the heavens. With a command, the celestial guard backed away and started cultivating on a large asteroid not far away. Wang Lin turned around as he put away the star compass and carried the moon-gazer bone deep into the planet. The closer he got, the more dense the thunder became, until it reached a terrifying degree. If it was anyone else, they would fear this place just like the celestial puppet. After all, the thunder here had reached a level that surpassed what one's body and origin soul could resist. However, for Wang Lin, especially for his origin soul without a body, this thunder had no effect on him. The closer he got, the more comfortable he felt. If Wang Lin still had his body, he would be limited by it. His body wouldn't have been able to reach this point, but due to current circumstances, he was able to move even faster and gradually entered this thunder planet. The planet's surface was also covered in thunder. The entire planet inside and out was filled with this dense thunder as if it was a thunder prison. As time goes on, a heavy dizziness is setting in. My mind can't cope. Tomorrow I will continue to burst forth with all my might. In 12 hours that will be doubling the likes for the video, hoping that everyone is ready with 2 likes for Leo. Thank you. Chapter 718, Forming Flesh. Looking at the earth filled with thunder, Wang Lin's origin soul felt even more comfortable. There were no plants as no living thing could survive under these conditions. It was very rare for a place like this to exist. Due to the asteroid field surrounding this place, it was impossible to notice it. If it wasn't for Wang Lin's origin soul, he would have never found his place. Although there was no life here, there was powerful vitality coming from the planet. The amount of vitality wasn't any less than a cultivation planet filled with spiritual energy. However, there was no spiritual energy here. After all, any spiritual energy would immediately collapse under the dense thunder. The entire world was surrounded by powerful thunder. Countless bolts of thunder descended from the sky. The ground would absorb the thunderbolts and the thunderbolts would move through the ground like silver snakes. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a strange light. This place was simply too perfect for him. It will only take half the effort to cultivate the thunder origin spell. Wang Lin's origin soul landed on the ground. As if he landed in a pool of thunder, a ripple spread out from his origin soul. Even the moongazer serpent's bone was surrounded by thunder. Wang Lin moved, and the moongazer serpent's bone landed on the ground. It was as if this planet had just gained a large mountain range. This large movement caused the planet to tremble. It was as like throwing a stone into a pond and watching ripples spreading across the water. Right now, the bone was like the rock and the ripples were thunder. At this moment, a large amount of thunder rippled across the planet. The density of the thunder increased several fold. The rumbling of the thunder continued endlessly as if it came from ancient times. Wang Lin's origin soul sat down in the lotus position. He hadn't completely absorbed the ancient thunder dragon. In his origin soul there was a thin line. It distorted to form the outline of a dragon. Both of his hands formed a seal and he placed it on his knees. Thunder appeared in Wang Lin's eyes, and a suction force immediately caused the thunder all around him to gather toward him. Bursts of crackling sounds came from all directions and countless sparks flew around. Each of those sparks would cause a first-step cultivator's expression to change, because it contained the might of heavenly thunder. Wang Lin slowly closed his eyes and allowed the thunder to enter his origin soul at will. Dense thunder gathered around him and continued to increase. A giant ball of thunder slowly gathered around him. Wang Lin was inside, and bolts of thunder descended on him. The thunder cycled through his origin soul and slowly disappeared. The cycle continued, and Wang Lin completely forgot about time. He focused completely on the thunder. There was a powerful pressure here, and it was being absorbed by Wang Lin. From the outside, aside from the thunder being a bit more violent than before, there was nothing unusual about it. The celestial guard was sitting in the lotus position on an asteroid near the planet. Although it had its eyes closed and was cultivating, its divine sense was spread out. If anything were to threaten Wang Lin, it would immediately act. Loyalty was the main concern Celestial Emperor Qing Lin had when creating the celestial guards. Time slowly passed. In a flash, 10 years flashed by. Time left no trace. Even on the planet Wang Lin was on, it merely lost a bit of thunder. During these past 10 years, the Celestial Guard didn't move at all. It was as if that was its life, waiting for time to pass for the chance of regaining its freedom. Inside the Thunder Planet, a giant ball of thunder appeared where Wang Lin was. The thunder from the sky descended on the ball of thunder and was rapidly absorbed. Even the thunder descending in the distance seemed to be attracted and turned toward the ball. Wang Lin's origin soul continued to recover inside the ball of thunder. This was the best place for him to recover, and the endless thunder was like the best medicine in the world for him. Wang Lin continued to absorb the thunder, and his injuries slowly recovered. Another 10 years passed by in a flash. On this day, Wang Lin's origin soul slowly opened its eyes. His eyes contained the might of thunder. The moment his eyes opened, the ball of thunder around him exploded. It spread out like a powerful thunder spell. However, at the moment the thunder spread out, Wang Lin inhaled. All of the expanding thunder froze as if time had stopped. Then it all returned as if time was reverting, and was inhaled into Wang Lin's mouth. At this moment, thunder covered his body as if he was wearing a suit of thunder armor. His hair moved without wind and emitted streams of thunder. If I wasn't T here, it would have taken several times longer to recover my origin soul. Wang Lin raised his head and looked up at the sky. The most important thing right now is to recover my body. Reforming a body is something a normal cultivator can do. This involves the ancient god tactic. Wang Lin began to ponder. His body had collapsed once before and only recovered due to the ancient god tactic. Only the original body has been cultivating the ancient god tactic. However, using only a part of it to reform my body is something I can still do. Wang Lin's eyes revealed resolve and his hand formed a seal. This was a seal from the memories of ancient god 2C. An ancient aura suddenly spread out from Wang Lin's hand and enveloped the world. The might of thunder also entered this ancient aura. Wang Lin's two hands slowly touched the earth, and he spoke a few complex words. Then his eyes emitted a mysterious glow. "Gather!" Wang Lin said the last word. The thunder covering the earth seemed to turn into actual water. It was slow at the start, but it quickly spread out and all the thunder rushed toward Wang Lin. The thunder quickly entered through Wang Lin's two hands. However, they didn't go into the depths of his body but condensed around his palms. A numb feeling gradually came from Wang Lin's hands. This feeling only existed when one had a body. Wang Lin didn't look down but kept his eyes closed. He was as stable as a mountain. As large amounts of thunder gathered, it was as if Wang Lin wanted to absorb all the thunder on the planet. If one looked from above, they would clearly see the amount of thunder on the surface of the planet visibly decrease and gather toward Wang Lin. Bursts of dazzling thunder flashed by. Wang Lin's hand seemed to control all the thunder in the world. It was as if he only needed to flip his hand to make all the thunder bow to him. His hands gradually absorbed the incredible thunder, and it began to condense. Flickers of golden lights would appear and disappear on his hands. These sparks increased more and more as thunder was gathered. There seemed to be some mysterious connection between them, and they slowly linked together to form the bone structure of the hand. This hand bone was formed completely from golden specks and gave off the powerful might of thunder. As time slowly passed, the thunder from the earth arrived like waves into Wang Lin. The amount of golden specks gathered at Wang Lin's hands reached a peak, and finally a pair of hand bones suddenly appeared. If an outsider saw Wang Lin now, they would gasp. This scene was simply too strong. Aside from the pair of hands, everything else was transparent. Only the pair of hand bones was completely solid. Wang Lin's absorption didn't stop. As more and more thunder was absorbed, the specks of light increased and began to extend toward his arms. His arm bones gradually condensed. Time slowly passed by, and Wang Lin was constantly immersed in absorbing the thunder. When all the thunder disappeared, a full skeleton had formed. His body slowly rose up into the air. When he was in the air, all of the thunder in the air seemed to find an opening and descended on his body like crazy. Bolts of thunder as thick as an arm continued to descend from the sky. Intersecting green and red lines continued to appear outside of Wang Lin's skeleton. They continued to appear and spread across his body. At this moment, Wang Lin's divine sense spread out and covered the entire planet. The thunder in his origin soul seemed to have become the owner of all the thunder on this planet. Suck! The divine sense turned into a spell, and with one word, the planet trembled. All of the thunder on the planet was sucked out. Then a large amount of thunder appeared and rushed toward Wang Lin. This scene caused a huge thunderstorm that caused the earth to crack, and the thunder in the sky was about to collapse. Even the celestial guard outside the planet opened its eyes and looked over with glowing eyes. All of the thunder on the planet gathered on Wang Lin as his flesh and blood slowly condensed. At this moment, thunder filled Wang Lin's body, and his body was connected to the entire planet. There was also powerful vitality being absorbed along with the thunder. This vitality was a vital component to Wang Lin's new body. Time quickly passed by. Including the time it took for his origin soul to recover, 60 years had passed. It was as if this entire thunder planet had gone through its entire life cycle in the past 60 years. The thunder on the planet was no longer dense, so even the celestial guard could enter the planet. All of the thunder and most of the vitality condensed into a 30-foot-tall cocoon. On this day, the cocoon opened. The second watch has come. So thankful for the praise from the new clan leader. Last night Leo started from the starting point, immediately saw a new follower. I'm ecstatic. Thank you everyone. Chapter 719 Heaven-defying bead absorption and greed as treasure. A naked body ripped open a gap from inside the cocoon and slowly walked out. Rich thunder came pouring out from the gap. This thunder wasn't from the cocoon, but from the body. He was Wang Lin. Wang Lin took a deep breath as he looked down at his own body and revealed a strange expression. He had spent 60 years absorbing a lot of thunder and vitality to form this body. This body contained the power of thunder and formed a close connection with the thunder in his origin soul. With a thought, Wang Lin's origin soul left his body. After wandering around a bit, he returned to his body. A long laughter came from Wang Lin's mouth. This sound was like rumbling thunder. The rumble of the thunder echoed across the world. It was like a cry that challenged the heavens. I gained a new life. I should not waste it. Wang Lin waved his hand and his bag of holding came out from his origin soul. Then a set of white robes appeared over his body. He landed on the ground and sat down in the lotus position. His gaze fell on the mountain that looked like a crouching dragon. Wang Lin's eyes shined and he slapped his bag of holding. The 1 billion soul flag appeared in his hand. He waved his hand and countless soul fragments flew out. If the thunder around the planet still remained, these soul fragments wouldn't have been able to withstand this place at all. The large amount of soul fragments gathered to form 3 primary souls and wandered the area. After setting up the protection, Wang Lin spread out his divine sense and carefully checked the area. After determining it was safe, Wang Lin took a deep breath and pressed his right hand between his eyebrows. A ripple appeared on his forehead and a crystal bead slowly formed. Wang Lin's eyes were glowing like fire as his hand formed a seal and pointed. The heaven-defying bead immediately flew out and landed on the mountain like moongazer bone. Compared to the huge mountain, the heaven-defying bead was so insignificant. Wang Lin's expression was extremely cautious. This heaven-defying bead was his #1 treasure, and it came from the Al-Heaven star system. His divine sense was spread out, and if there were any sign of trouble, he would immediately take the necessary measures. This was why he had to wait until his body had formed before taking out the heaven-defying bead. Without his body, he couldn't use his full power. If he were to directly take out the heaven-defying bead, it would be too dangerous and unwise. The heaven-defying bead gave off a golden glow. Under this golden light, the moongazer bone trembled slightly. The metal inside it turned into golden threads which were slowly absorbed by the heaven-defying bead. This process was extremely slow, and Wang Lin didn't know the reason why. Compared to when absorbing the water element, the closer the bead came to completion, the slower the absorption became. Wang Lin's divine sense kept sweeping the area, always on high alert. He even sent out the 4th soul to hide somewhere near the planet. Wang Lin used the 4th soul as a springboard to spread his divine sense out even further. The heaven-defying bead's absorption was very slow. After all, the moongazer bone was simply too big. After a few days, Wang Lin split off a portion of his divine sense and took out a few magical treasures. These treasures all belonged to greed. These were Wang Lin's harvest from 60 years ago. The first treasure was that giant mountain. Although it was damaged, the celestial spiritual energy coming from it was extremely rich. What was even better was that greed's divine sense imprint had already dissipated. This was one of the reasons why Wang Lin was extremely tempted. The dissipation of greed's divine sense didn't mean he was dead. It was wiped away after 100 years of assimilation with the moongazer bone. Wang Lin placed his right hand on the mountain and recalled when greed extracted the mountain's soul. His eyes were calm as he slightly rubbed the mountain. Wang Lin had a deep impression of extracting the souls of things with spirit, like planets, mountains, and rivers. This was something only second-step cultivators should be able to do, but Wang Lin was able to experience it personally when the scattered devil controlled his body. As his right hand rubbed the mountain, Wang Lin's hand suddenly stopped and his eyes revealed a strange light. He slowly raised his right hand. Then an ancient aura with rich celestial spiritual energy came from the rock. As Wang Lin lifted his right hand, An illusionary mist ball formed between his hand and the mountain. He slowly raised his right hand. Wang Lin's movement was extremely gentle. His gaze was like lightning as he stared at the small ball of mist in his hand. This small ball gave off a powerful aura. What shocked Wang Lin the most was that the celestial spiritual energy was perfectly contained within the ball, as if a celestial was using this spell. Although this mountain soul is much weaker than back when greed used it, it is still extremely powerful. However, the mountain soul is extremely unstable, and if I am careless, not only will it not hurt the enemy, it might harm me instead. Wang Lin's eyes glowed. He knew that the reason for this was because the mountain wasn't complete, which caused the mountain soul to become damaged. There was also no obstruction when he tried to extract the mountain soul. It was as if Wang Lin could extract it with just a thought. This was what really shocked Wang Lin. His eyes shined as his right hand gently pressed down on the mountain and the soul returned back into the mountain. Wang Lin's right hand immediately pressed down on the earth. With a thought, he lifted his hand and the entire planet seemed to tremble. However, this was only a feeling of his divine sense. In reality, the earth didn't move an inch. The moment the ancient aura appeared, it immediately dissipated. It was as if one had thrown a wooden bucket into a well and pulled up a bucket full of water. However, on the way up, the bottom of the bucket collapsed and all the water returned to the well. The person who was pulling the bucket would naturally feeling a force. If that person was a bit careless, they could hurt themselves. Wang Lin felt like this when he failed to extract the planet's soul. The moment the ancient aura dissipated, he felt a powerful force hit his body. Sounds of popping came from his body and his face turned white. It took him a while to recover. Looking at the mountain before him, Wang Lin took a deep breath. What made this mountain valuable was that it allowed him to experience the soul extraction spell that only second-step cultivators could use. This item is very useful to me. I just don't know how greed discovered and refined it. Although greed was Wang Lin's enemy, after seeing this spell, he somewhat admired greed. Ancient Thunder Dragon, Celestial Mountain, Ancient God Furnace, Mountain and River Screen, and that strange crown. There are also the unknown treasures in Greed's bag of holding. He really is blessed by the heavens. Wang Lin let out a sigh. Any one of those treasures would cause the people outside to go crazy. However, what surprised Wang Lin was that no one had stolen those treasures from greed. He was completely baffled by this. He looked at the celestial mountain, and his eyes revealed a hint of excitement. It should be possible to repair this, but it will require origin energy. Wang Lin put it away and then slapped his bag of holding to take out another item. This was the mountain and river screen. Wang Lin had never heard of the mountain and river painting. However, some of the famous figures of the cultivation world knew the mountain and river painting well. Among the top 10 high-grade celestial treasures of the celestial realm, the mountain and river painting was ranked 5th. Rumor had it that the mountain and river painting was unpredictable. However, what really made it powerful wasn't the mountain and river spell on the surface, but the ink of the painting. Although this ink seemed black, it was really dark red, as it was formed by blood. This blood was where the true power of the mountain and river painting lied. Rumor had it that the blood that drew the mountain and river painting was the blood of the heavenly Tao. However, the heavenly Tao had no form, so how could it have blood? This became an eternal mystery. Thus, this item was also named the heavenly Tao painting. What greed obtained wasn't the real mountain and river painting, but a copy imprinted on a screen. As for what kind of spell could imprint the mountain and river painting onto the screen, greed racked his brains and searched many ancient records but still wasn't able to find out how. Wang Lin's gaze fell on the screen. This screen looked very simple with nothing extraordinary about it. It was similar to those seen in the big houses of those who were not so rich. The mountain and river painting seemed slightly blurred, but if one looked for a long time it seemed extremely clear. However, right now a crack ran across from the left, as if it dividing the mountain and river. It looked very uncoordinated. The divine sense imprint on this treasure had long since collapsed under the power of the ancient god finger. Wang Lin waved his right hand and left his own divine sense imprint. After pondering for a bit, he opened his mouth and sucked the screen into his origin soul. He began refining this item with the thunder from his origin soul. The final magical treasure was the crown. Wang Lin personally saw that under the power of the ancient god finger from the moongazer serpent, not a single crack had appeared on the crown. Holding the item with his left hand, Wang Lin scanned it with his divine sense and found nothing abnormal about it. It was just like the crown of a mortal emperor, nothing unusual about it. However, the 5 beads on it caught Wang Lin's attention. Wang Lin was able to immediately tell these 5 beads contained the power of the 5 elements. These 5 elements were similar to Red Butterfly's 5 elemental spirits, only with more spirit. While staring at the crown, Wang Lin pondered for a bit before putting it on his head like greed did. At this moment, a mysterious force immediately appeared from Wang Lin's head. After making a trip through his body, it returned to the crown and remained inactive. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a strange color. He took off the crown and carefully looked at it before pondering. That power wasn't very strong. When it moved through my body, it felt like it was looking for something. When it couldn't find what it wanted, it eventually returned back into the crown. What was it looking for? 5-element bead. Searching for Wang Lin was startled. His eyes flashed and he softly said, "Pseudo 5-elemental body red butterfly." The new chapter is late, but it has over 500 more words than the previous ones. I hope not to be hit. Wishing for the like button for the video. Chapter 71, 4 years. With Wang Lin's current cultivation, he didn't need to sleep at all. After lying in his bed for a while, he sat up and looked at the moon outside his window. He waved his right hand and took out a gourd, then drank a big gulp from it. Wang Lin muttered to himself, the amount of spiritual energy needed to break through from QI condensation to foundation building is simply too great. It is time to start gathering dew. Situnan asked. That's right. Hey brat, when do you plan on going to find wood element to help complete the heaven-defying bead? Wang Lin pondered for a while, then said, First, I'll find a place nearby to prepare to break through to foundation building. Then, I'll have to see how things are going with Zhou Peng. If nothing unusual happens, I'll leave this place. The night passed in silence. For the next few days, Wang Lin spent time with his parents. After half a month, Wang Lin left. After the reluctant farewell of his parents, he left in a rainbow-colored light. Wang Lin felt very gloomy when he left. He didn't know when his next chance to come back home will be. It might be in a few years, or he might not come back ever again. Originally, the place he planned to use for closed-door training was the cave with the hole in the wall, but he decided against it. Unlike other cultivators, he needed water in the cave. Otherwise, no matter how rich the spiritual energy was, it would not be a good enough spot. Also, it was very close to the Hangyu mountain, so it was too dangerous. After searching the surrounding area, Wang Lin found a cave near the top of an empty mountain. There was a pool of underground water and a lot of animal droppings in the cave. It seemed wild animals visited this area a lot. After carefully checking the cave and making sure that there was no other exit, Wang Lin quickly used the attraction technique and sealed the cave entrance with rocks. As a result, the cave became completely sealed, and Wang Lin began his second closed-door training. After he started his closed-door training, time flew by. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Without him realizing it, 4 years had passed by. As for the remaining people of the Hangyu sect, they gradually forgot about Wang Lin, thinking that he had died. Liu Wenju and the old woman regretted letting him out. The one who was most happy about this matter had to be Lu Song, because he managed to become the senior disciple of that small group. As for Huang Long and the others of his generation, they never had much contact with Wang Lin to begin with. They only noticed Wang Lin due to recent events, so after 4 years, they had completely forgotten about him. During the first year of Wang Lin's closed-door training, he kept in contact with Zhou Peng and found that all of the foundation building and above elders were in closed-door training in the back mountains. So no one found out about what happened to Zhou Peng. In addition to this, he had his status as the senior disciple of the Xuandao sect, so none of the disciples dared to mess with him. This allowed him to gather information and secretly take care of some disciples that had ill intentions toward Wang Lin. With Zhou Peng secretly taking care of these people, Wang Lin gradually faded from everyone's memories. The entrance of the cave that Wang Lin was cultivating in was now covered with plants, making the cave impossible to detect. In these 4 years, the entrance to the cave became a gathering place for various animals. Some even sat outside the entrance and cultivated. On a certain day, 2 rainbow-colored lights flew toward the cave. 2 male and 1 female appeared from the light as they stopped near the cave. The person in front was a middle-aged man wearing black. His body stopped in mid-air with a green flying sword under him. The sword released a cold aura that would cause fear in others. Next to the middle-aged man stood a young girl. The girl was very attractive and her voice was very clear. "Third senior brother, you have to help me find a crystal spirit beast. The competition to enter the back mountain is soon, and I need a good wood crystal spirit beast to refine into a sword spirit. With that sword spirit, I'll win for sure." If Wang Lin saw this girl, he would find her to be very familiar. This was the female named Shu who was secretly in love with Wang Zhuo. She had now grown from a pretty teenager to a beautiful woman. The middle-aged man was in a trance. He suddenly regained his senses and said, "Junior sister, work hard and strive to get into the back mountain. After I help you capture a crystal spirit beast, I'll have to go into closed-door training." There was another teenager who stood next to the girl. He was ever young and was clinging to the girl. He said, "Senior brother and sister, you two are flying too fast. I can even keep my eyes open. Since we are here already, let's go down." The girl named Shu said, "Junior brother, didn't you say that you had follow? I already told you that your cultivation isn't high enough, just this speed, and you can stand it." The middle-aged man turned, looked at the two, and said, "Junior brother, your talent is good, but if you can even stand this little bit of hardship, how will you cultivate in the future?" The youth was clearly very afraid of the middle-aged man and said, "Third brother, I know I was wrong." The girl named Shu tapped the youth's head and said, "Junior brother, just wait a bit. Once we capture the crystal beast, we can return to the sect." The youth quickly nodded and whispered, "Senior sister, you are one of the Xuan Dao sect-ass geniuses. You managed to go from the TH layer to the TH layer in only 4 years. This time, after you capture the crystal beast and refine it into a sword spirit, you will become one of the experts in the Xuan Dao sect. You'll have to help me when Li Shan bullies me in the future." The girl shook her head and wryly smiled. Speaking of geniuses, elder brother Liu Feng is definitely one. He has almost caught up to senior brother S cultivation and is going to break through into the TH layer soon. There is also elder sister Liu Mei, who has already reached the 12th layer. They were all originally Xuan Dao sect disciples, so they naturally have access to the back mountain. I'm originally from the Heng US sect, so I have to fight for one of the remaining spots in the back mountain. I hope I can win this time." The middle-aged man let out a snort and disgruntledly said, "That Bat Liu Feng only grew so fast because he was able to enter the back mountain. It was only because the ancestor had his eyes on the Heng Yu sect's back mountain that he made it this far. If it wasn't for the ancestor, how could Liu Feng grow so fast? Even if he has great talent, without a great amount of spiritual energy, it would take years to break through." The girl named Shu smiled and changed the topic. "Third brother, look at this place. I remember it being very different from before. Why are there so many wild animals cultivating around here?" The end of the year is here, brothers. Give a like for Leo. Chapter 720, Heaven-Defying Bead completed. Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding as he pondered, and a blue rose appeared in his hand. This rose was extremely delicate and tender and gave off a blue light. The moment it was taken out, the blue light spread and gave off a sense of illusion. A cold aura followed after the blue light and surrounded the area. This cold aura gave off an unspeakable pride. Only those cultivators with their own domain could feel this pride with their origin soul. A mortal only would feel their body become cold and feel like everything but the rose had disappeared for an instant. However, in Wang Lin's eyes, apart from the pride, he also saw a figure appear. This figure was extremely beautiful but also extremely proud. Looking at the blue rose, Wang Lin pondered a bit and placed it below the crown. His eyes glowed and stared at the crown. The moment the crown touched the rose, the 5 jewels shined brightly. An invisible force flowed from the crown toward the rose. The blue rose slowly dissipated before Wang Lin. It turned into specks of blue light and fused with the crown. The crown gave off bursts of blue light for a long time. The blue light gradually faded and returned back to normal. Wang Lin frowned as he picked up the crown and examined it. Shortly after, he seemed to realize something. This crown seemed to gain a hint of spirit compared to before. Wang Lin carefully examined it and could vaguely see a figure holding a sword inside. Beyond this, he couldn't find any other clues. This item was able to remain undamaged from the ancient god finger, so it obviously isn't ordinary. But how do I use it? Greed said that it took in the souls of 999 emperors to be able to activate this item. Wang Lin began to ponder. What do the souls of emperors have to do with the 5 elemental spirits? What is the connection? Could the owner of the crown have been an emperor with 5 elemental spirits, and that is the only way to activate it? Wang Lin shook his head and couldn't really understand it. Also, Wang Lin examined it for a long time, and aside from the flame dragon bone, he couldn't identify any other material. He was only able to identify the flame dragon bone due to the memories he had inherited from 2C. It seemed the origin of this item was from a long time ago. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin withdrew the bone and his gaze fell on the not far away moon gazer bone. The metal element inside the moon gazer bone gradually decreased after days of being absorbed by the heaven-defying bead. Time slowly passed. Wang Lin had been vigilant this entire time as he wouldn't allow anyone to disturb this. Although this place was remote, he still had to be cautious. 3 months of time passed by in a flash. No one came during these 3 months. At this moment, all of the metal element had disappeared from within the moongazer bone. Wang Lin was originally worried that half the moongazer bone would not be enough to complete the heaven-defying bead, but right now the image representing the metal element had reached completion. The metal element of the heaven-defying bead became complete before Wang Lin's eyes. The bead gave off a bright glow and turned into something resembling a crystal. An ancient aura suddenly came from the bead. The power of the 5 elements intersected above the bead, causing it to gradually rise into the air. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a strange light. He bit the tip of his finger and flicked out a drop of blood containing his divine sense imprint. The drop of blood quickly landed on the bead. The moment the blood was absorbed, Wang Lin's mind trembled. It was as if something extra had appeared in his origin soul. At the same time, a symbol containing ancient aura appeared in his mind. Wang Lin looked at the heaven-defying bead and revealed a decisive gaze. He had waited almost 1,000 years to finally complete the heaven-defying bead, but instead of being excited, he was cautious and calm. This treasure had accompanied him for a very long time, but in the end his understanding of it was too shallow. What exactly is this heaven-defying bead? Could it really have come from the ancient celestial realm like the woman said? Wang Lin's hand moved. His 2 fingers formed a brush and drew the symbol that appeared in his mind. This symbol was extremely complex, and each stroke gave off an ancient aura. Under Wang Lin's careful gaze, this symbol gradually took shape. The ancient aura became extremely dense at this moment. The ancient aura that the scattered demon gave off when it took over Wang Lin's body couldn't compare to this at all. As the ancient aura spread out, the entire planet was affected. All the vitality from the planet was gradually suppressed, and cracks appeared all over it. Wang Lin took a deep breath. At the moment the symbol was completed, he hit it with his palm. The symbol then slowly floated toward the floating heaven-defying bead. A ray of violet light came from the heaven-defying bead. This violet light was so strong that Wang Lin could hardly keep his eyes open. The celestial puppet's entire body gave off the scent of decay. Its body actually began to disintegrate at a visible rate. Wang Lin was extremely shocked. With a thought, the celestial guard returned to his shadow and the decay finally stopped. However, the scent of decay still lingered. Not only the celestial guard, but the 3 primary souls were the same. If it wasn't for Wang Lin responding quickly, they would have disintegrated completely in a few breaths of time. The violet light became larger and slowly spread. It eventually covered the entire planet. It was like the planet was wearing a layer of purple. At this moment, the violet light reached its peak. The entire planet began to disintegrate as if a spell had been cast on it. This violet light didn't stop and continued to expand. Even some of the asteroids were caught in the violent light. Some of them immediately collapsed into dust. It was as if Wang Lin and the bead were the only things left. Everything else was this terrifying violet light. This strange scene caused Wang Lin's heart to shake violently. Although he had many speculations about the heaven-defying bead, he never would have thought it would change like this upon completion. The violet light stopped spreading while Wang Lin was still feeling shocked. A majority of the 5 elemental forces that had gathered dissipated at this moment. Almost all of the energy gathered over the past 1,000 years was released at once. The violet light was still dense around where the heaven-defying bead was, and a large door slowly appeared with a loud rumble. This door was too big. Wang Lin was like an insignificant ant before it. A restriction formed and covered the area that the violet light was touching. Wang Lin only took one look at the restriction and his heart trembled. There was no need to talk about studying it. No living creature could enter this restriction. It was as if the area the violet light covered was dug out from the Al-Heaven star system using an unimaginable spell and was isolated from everything. Only that huge door still existed in this world. Looking at the huge door, not only did his mind tremble, he even felt a sense of fear. This kind of emotion was extremely rare for Wang Lin. Upon feeling his own fear, Wang Lin's eyes revealed a sign of struggle. His Tao didn't allow him to fear, but this fear was almost instinctive, and he simply couldn't erase it. It was as if what was before him was on a completely different level, and it was a gap that was impossible to cross. Wang Lin hadn't felt like this for a very long time. Even when facing the moon-gazer serpent, he was only shocked. He didn't experience this trembling in his soul that made him feel like he couldn't even resist slightly. It was as if he was once again a mortal teenager standing below the peak of the Hang US sect, looking up at the towering cultivation sect. He was feeling the kind of awe that came from the bottom of his heart. As Wang Lin's cultivation and experience increased, this kind of feeling gradually vanished. Even when he was facing the divine retribution in the demon spirit land, he still relied on his Tao heart to persist and resist. But at this moment, although this huge door was giving off no pressure, his mind and body were shaking. Never give in. Wang Lin's eyes were bloodshot and his body was trembling as he clenched his teeth and raised his head. He would never lower his head, just like back at the Hang US sect when he was filled with perseverance when he was climbing the mountain. Even if his entire body was covered in blood, he would still struggle. At this moment, the awe coming from the soul tried to drown him like the tides, wanting Wang Lin to yield. However, Wang Lin couldn't and wouldn't because what supported him were Wan Er and Wang Ping's souls inside the heaven-defying bead. He would never allow anyone to hurt those two souls. Heaven-defying bead, it was I who completed you. If heavens want to kill someone I care for, I'll slaughter the heavens. If you defy me, then I'll destroy you. Although Wang Lin's voice was trembling, it had an unyielding aura as he shouted each word. The unyielding Tao caused the ancient thunder dragon inside his origin soul to move through his body like crazy. Lightning and thunder also filled his body made of thunder. Thunder spread out from Wang Lin's feet and rose into the air. At this moment, Wang Lin was like a thunder celestial. He controlled the power of thunder. This thunder contained unyielding will and Wang Lin's persistent Tao. The earth collapsed, but Wang Lin's body still struggled. His eyes were bloodshot as his Tao suppressed the sense of awe coming from the depths of his soul. He stared at the huge door with indomitable eyes. The huge door that appeared in the world was covered in dense, violet light. It was like something hiding inside fog. At this moment, under Wang Lin's gaze, the dense violet light formed a giant arm outside the door. It waved toward Wang Lin as if calling him. Due to Wang Lin's great eyesight, he immediately noticed that this giant arm didn't belong to an ancient god. The last 2 days of the month are upon us, wishing for the like button for the VIDEO. Right now, it's about doubling the likes for the VIDEO. Very grateful and will return the favor. Chapter 721 Heaven, Defying Bead's Beckoning. The ancient god's skin was rough and was covered in cracks. However, the hand formed by the violet light was extremely smooth. Although it was huge, it seemed to be formed by a spell. It made a gesture calling Wang Lin like an elder relative calling a child. The action was slow, but it repeated over and over. There was no dangerous aura coming from the huge arm. It felt very ordinary. It only beckoned Wang Lin as if it was going to take him through this giant door. However, Wang Lin was completely on guard, and all the hair on his body was standing up. The scene before him was simply too strange. He never would have thought that such a strange thing would occur when the heaven-defying bead was complete. Wang Lin remained motionless as he stared at the hand beckoning him, and a cold light flashed across his eyes. The movement of the arm remained the same, still beckoning Wang Lin silently. However, as time went by, the door behind it gradually turned more illusionary, as if it could dissipate at any time. It was as if he would never have a chance to enter again if he didn't hurry over. Wang Lin clenched his teeth and stepped forward. His right hand reached out to the only thing that still hadn't collapsed, the moongazer bone. Although the moongazer bone had lost the metal element, it was still as hard as before. After all, this was something that belonged to the moongazer serpent. After grabbing the giant moongazer bone, Wang Lin let out a roar and celestial spiritual energy surged through his body as he mercilessly threw the moongazer bone into the sky. The giant bone whistled through the air as it headed straight for the door. Just as the moongazer bone was about to hit the door, the hand-arm beckoning Wang Lin easily caught the bone. Wang Lin gasped and his eyes were filled with horror as the arm casually squeezed. A powerful aura immediately appeared and the entire moongazer bone collapsed into dust. This squeeze caused the entire world to tremble. Countless cracks immediately appeared even on the planet Wang Lin was on. Loud rumbles came from the asteroid field as a large number of asteroids shattered. It created a vacuum within the area, and even the asteroids outside the range of the purple light were affected and continued to collapse. It was as if this squeeze contained unimaginable power. It was as if the entire world could be shattered by that squeeze. That arm slowly loosened and beckoned Wang Lin once more. Wang Lin's scalp went numb, and his face was pale as he stared at the arm. He had no idea how strong that squeeze was, but he knew that it wasn't any weaker than the ancient god finger from the moongazer serpent. This arm gave Wang Lin the feeling that nothing in the world could resist that squeeze. The squeeze didn't use strength but something similar to the law Wang Lin displayed with the heavenly chop. However, compared to the heavenly chop, this was much more powerful. After a long time, the giant arm gradually dissipated. However, it maintained its beckoning gesture until the end. The giant door behind it disappeared along with the arm. The violet light surrounding the area condensed once more. In the blink of an eye, all of the violet light gathered and slowly disappeared, reverting back to the heaven-defying bead. As if it had released all its power, the bead fell from the air. Wang Lin hesitated for a bit before his right hand reached out. The bead immediately flew over and landed in his palm. It was completely ordinary, as if it was a normal stone. However, at this moment, there was no trace of the 5 elemental energies from it. It was even more thoroughly depleted than when Wang Lin first found it. Wang Lin's divine sense went inside the bead. Li Muan's, Wang Ping's, and Xianxia's souls were still inside. Compared to before, they seemed even more lively, especially Li Muan's soul, which seemed more stable now. What exactly is the power of the heaven-defying bead? Where does that huge door lead to? And that arm outside the door, Wang Lin pondered. It wasn't hard to guess that he wasn't the first person to obtain the heaven-defying bead, considering how long it had existed for. There must have been someone else who was able to complete the 5 elements for the heaven-defying bead. However, after seeing the gate, those people must have chosen to enter, whether it was the first or one of the subsequent times the door appeared. Were these seniors crushed by the arm, or did they really enter the door? Wang Lin frowned. Before the heaven-defying bead was complete, Wang Lin was really puzzled by it. However, after the 5 elements were completed, not only did nothing change, he was even more puzzled. Could this door lead to the ancient celestial realm? But if that is the case, why is that arm there? Although it looks like it is beckoning, in reality, it is there to crush. What exactly is the heaven-defying bead? Wang Lin frowned and stared at the heaven-defying bead. After a long time, he placed it against his forehead and it disappeared into his origin soul. Since he couldn't understand right now, Wang Lin decided to stop thinking about it for now. It was obvious that the key was the door, but he just didn't know what was behind the door. The heaven-defying bead's 5 elemental energies are now gone and need to be gathered once more. Wang Lin looked around. After what just happened, this planet was completely wasted. There was no longer any value in staying here. Unfortunately, this treasured place is now gone, but the place that makes my origin soul comfortable is deeper in the asteroid field. If there's more thunder, then I can cultivate the thunder origin spell. After making up his mind, Wang Lin moved. He charged out of this place like a bolt of thunder. Most of the asteroids nearby were now gone. Wang Lin didn't pause as he took out the war chariot and the thunder beast appeared. The moment the thunder beast came out, it let out a roar as if it had been suppressed for countless years and looked at Wang Lin. However, the thunder beast was surprised. It carefully looked at Wang Lin and its eyes revealed confusion. Wang Lin sat down on the thunder beast. Then he slapped its head and laughed. Don't stare anymore. With your intelligence, you must have noticed what's special about the place ahead. Are you still not heading over? The thunder beast let out a roar. In its eyes, it was as if Wang Lin doesn't exist at all, and in his place was a bolt of thunder. However, this bolt of thunder gave him a very cordial feeling, a feeling he hadn't felt in a long time. Wang Lin's slap on its head made it feel extremely comfortable. It couldn't help but let out a roar. Thunder Beast was very fast as it traveled through the asteroid field. The deeper they went, the denser the asteroids became. There were even some asteroids giving off flashes of thunder. This environment caused no discomfort for neither Wang Lin nor the Thunder Beast. The Thunder Beast was extremely happy, and it continued to roar happily. While sitting on the Thunder Beast, Wang Lin was still thinking about the heaven-defying bead. Deep in his heart, he was still disappointed. After all, he had spent almost 1,000 years gathering the 5 elements, and the trip to the Moongazer Serpent almost cost him his life. He originally thought that he would gain some great power that would have been of great use to him. However, right now the difference between reality and his hopes was too big. What exactly is this heaven-defying bad? Wang Lin touched his forehead and pondered. The Thunder Beast was very sensitive to the power of thunder. It continued to travel deep into the asteroid field. Muffled sounds of thunder interrupted Wang Lin's thoughts, and his eyes lit up. The place ahead was where the comfortable feeling in his origin soul was coming from. The thunder here was extremely dense. This is the place. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. Thunder Beast traveled through the asteroid field and then suddenly stopped. Its large eyes revealed shock. When Wang Lin saw what was before him, he gasped and his eyes started shining brightly. There was no planet before him. It was a vast lake of thunder. This place was filled with lightning and thunder. It was like a real thunder hell. The thunder planet from before was really insignificant compared to this place. In the boundless lake of thunder, lightning bolts moved around like dragons, and the rumbling released a powerful aura. The Thunder Beast let out a roar and looked at the lake of thunder with hesitation. The power of thunder here was too strong. Even though it was a Thunder Beast, it still almost felt like it couldn't withstand this. Wang Lin's body moved, and he got off the Thunder Beast. His eyes narrowed and became cautious. He first let out the Celestial Guard to stand guard nearby, and then arrived at the edge of the Lake of Thunder. He observed for a while before taking a step. When his step landed, the thunder immediately entered his body through his feet and filled his being. Even Wang Lin's body felt numb. He took a deep breath and then took another step. He took 20 steps in a row before stopping. His entire body was surrounded by thunder, and his origin soul was giving off the might of thunder. This place was his currently limit. Wang Lin slowly sat down and closed his eyes to cultivate. The Thunder Beast fidgeted around the edge for a long time before finally taking a cautious step forward. It immediately felt the thunder and then lied down. It began absorbing and refining the thunder using a method only the Thunder Beast knew. There was no other sound beside the sound of thunder. The man and beast just began to cultivate like this. Wang Lin gradually adapted to this place, and his heart was in shock. The thunder here exceeded that of his body. If it wasn't for the fact that his body was made of thunder, it would have been very difficult for him to even remain at the edge. This is indeed the best place to cultivate the thunder origin spell. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with thunder as he silently cultivated the thunder origin spell. At this moment, in a distant space outside the asteroid field, a bolt of thunder whistled by. This was a Thunder Beast, and although it had no horn, there was a bulge forming on its head. The Thunder Beast was wearing black armor, making it look extremely ferocious. A middle-aged man was sitting on the back of the Thunder Beast. His hair flowed behind him, and he was expressionless as he charged toward the asteroid field. The Thunder Celestial Realm is about to open. I must absorb more origin energy from the Thunder Lake. The end of the month is here. Wishing for the like button for the video. Brothers, do you still have likes for the video? Chapter 722 Heaven-Defying Beasts says shocking change. The black-haired man rubbed the Thunder Beast's big head, and his eyes revealed a strange light as he muttered, I just don't know what kind of treasures will appear in the Thunder Celestial Realm. I fear that the messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple will be fighting fiercely against each other. He revealed a gloomy expression. The Thunder Beast below him turned into a ray of lightning and flew off into the distance. Rumor has it that the mysterious heaven-defying bead first appeared in the depths of the asteroid field in Southern Domain. Because of the appearance of the bead, it caused the thunder here to change and created this Thunder Lake. This is now the best place to cultivate thunder spells. The man's eyes lit up, and he moved even faster. Wang Lin was inside the Thunder Lake as he muttered the words to the Thunder Origin spell over and over again. After understanding it, Wang Lin's hand formed a seal and then placed his hands on his knees. He then took a deep breath and closed his eyes. The Thunder Origin spell used a mysterious method to extract origin energy out of heavenly thunder and make it your own. This kind of spell was extremely rare. Only second-step cultivators would have something like this. It would often be considered a treasure that wouldn't be given out casually. This method focused on thunder entering the body. If one's cultivation level wasn't high enough, it was no different from harming your own body. If one was careless, their origin soul would be damaged, and in serious cases, they would immediately be destroyed. However, this method couldn't be more suitable for Wang Lin. His origin soul was thunder and his new body was made of thunder. In the eyes of the thunder beast, Wang Lin's entire being was just thunder. Shortly after, Wang Lin's hand slowly lifted and his hand formed a seal. With a shake, large amounts of ripples appeared in the air. These ripples were formed by thunder, and they slowly spread out. This shake in reality contained 9 different seals that were produced at extremely high speed. These seals created the ability to attract thunder. Under the loud rumble of the Thunder Lake, a strand of thunder seemed to be attracted. It seemed to finally have found a point of release, and immediately rushed over, attempting to devour everything in its path. However, at the moment it touched Wang Lin, it dissipated and charged into Wang Lin's body. The thunder here was very strong, far beyond ordinary thunder. The moment it entered Wang Lin's body, it surged through his body. Wang Lin's hand quickly performed the Thunder Origin spell. A huge vortex quickly appeared in his body and constantly rotated. With every rotation, it squeezed out some origin energy from the thunder. This process lasted for a long time. The introduction said that the first time using this spell would be very difficult. On one hand, the body had to resist the thunder, and on the other hand, it would absorb origin energy. It required time to adapt to all of this. However, Wang Lin didn't have to worry about all of this. His flesh and origin soul were already made from thunder. At most, the thunder would cause him to feel uncomfortable, but he wouldn't be injured. At this moment, he focused all of his attention on squeezing out origin energy and naturally disregarded the discomfort coming from his body. After a long time, the strand of thunder gradually collapsed under the effect of the Thunder Origin spell, leaving behind a trace amount of impure origin energy. There was simply too little origin energy, so much so that it was impossible to detect if one wasn't looking carefully. However, Wang Lin treasured it like a treasure and was excited from the bottom of his heart. For a first-step cultivator, origin energy was a luxury. Only when one reaches the ascendant can they have the opportunity to obtain some, and it was impossible to gain or recover more. Forming origin energy from the world required spells from second-step cultivators. If it wasn't for a series of fortuitous coincidences, Wang Lin wouldn't have been able to do this. He suppressed the ecstasy and excitement in his heart and carefully cycled the impure origin energy toward his origin soul. Once there, it will have the impurity refined from it. Although the origin energy remaining will be even less, it will become something that can be used by him. This was an extremely critical moment, so Wang Lin didn't dare to be careless. He slowly controlled his impure origin energy into his origin soul. However, just at this moment, a sudden change occurred. This change caught Wang Lin unprepared, so he didn't have time to control it. The moment the trace of impure origin energy touched his origin soul, it became like a runaway wild horse and moved violently. It drilled into his origin soul, but instead of fusing with the origin soul, it charged to the location of the heaven-defying bead. This trace of impure origin energy fused with the heaven-defying bead in an instant. A thunderous roar that people the outside couldn't hear but Wang Lin could hear clearly echoed inside his body. It was as if he was hit mercilessly by a large mountain. Wang Lin's face instantly became pale, his origin soul shook, and even his body unceasingly trembled. The heaven-defying bead inside his body didn't listen to Wang Lin's command. It slowly floated out from between his eyebrows. Wang stared at the scene before him, and his mind trembled. The heaven-defying bead appeared once more. This time, as soon as it came out from Wang Lin's body, the entire Thunder Lake became violent and strands of thunder dragons immediately charged out. This caused a large amount of fluctuations which in turn caused the asteroids to be affected and give off powerful thunder. This caused the celestial guard to retreat until it was far away to not be affected. Even the thunder beast was awakened by the change in the thunder. It subconsciously retreated and didn't dare to close in. Wang Lin looked at the heaven-defying bead in the sky. The confusion in his eyes became even stronger. The countless thunder dragons whistled out from all directions. The dragons charged in one by one into the heaven-defying bead. This scene was extremely shocking, and it completely startled Wang Lin. The heaven-defying bead slowly turned, and with every turn it would absorb a large amount of thunder. A violet light slowly formed around the bead. Wang Lin was too familiar with this scene. Not long ago, this exact same thing happened. The violet light became blinding and suddenly spread out. The mysterious restriction appeared once more. At the same time, the huge door appeared before Wang Lin's eyes. All of this was simply too bizarre, and it shocked Wang Lin greatly. He didn't know that the heaven bead first appeared here. All of the mysterious changes that occurred here were caused by the appearance of the heaven-defying bead. Wang Lin had inadvertently made his way here and brought the heaven-defying bead back to where it originally appeared. It could be said that karma was involved in his. However, this wasn't completely unintentional. In fact, when Wang Lin was injured, and he seeked this place out, it wasn't just due to the characteristics of the thunder dragon. An even more hidden reason was the heaven-defying bead. The heaven-defying bead was the only thing that had fused with Wang Lin's origin soul and no longer existed physically, so it had the ability to influence Wang Lin's origin soul. In fact, the comfortable feeling was from the heaven-defying bead. If only that was the case, it wouldn't have been a big deal. The incomplete heaven-defying bead hadn't recognized an owner yet, so even if Wang Lin had brought it here, it wouldn't have had any changes. However, when the 5 elements were complete, the heaven-defying bead changed. When the huge door appeared, it meant that Wang Lin had activated the heaven-defying bead for the first time. This activation meant that the bead had recognized an owner. Afterward, Wang Lin absorbed the heaven-defying bead and came here. The moment it touched the thunder here, a change occurred. If any of these factors were missing, the heaven-defying bead wouldn't have had changed like this. In the countless years since the heaven-defying bead had come into being, Wang Lin was the only one to reach the step. The giant door appeared once more. The violet light caused the world and even the thunder lake to turn purple. The thunder became purple thunder. The appearance of the door caused the sense of awe to appear in his body once more. Although he had already resisted it once, his body still trembled slightly, but his eyes remained unyielding. As the violet light shinned everywhere, the giant arm outside the door appeared once more. However, it made Wang Lin's heart skip a beat this time. The moment the arm appeared, a large amount of purple lightning immediately charged toward it. Countless strands of thunder wrapped around the arm as if they had subdued it. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and stared at the arm. After pondering for a bit, he clenched his teeth, jumped into the air, and charged toward the giant door. If this arm wasn't locked by the thunder, Wang Lin wouldn't have chosen to enter it. However, he felt that if he missed this once-in-a-lifetime chance, he would never be able to see the secret beyond the door. Although his speed was bad, he left himself a way out. If the arm broke free of the thunder, he would immediately turn and flee. He was getting closer and closer. The arm began to move, but the thunder around it was like a metal chain that held it down. This caused the arm to slow down. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as his speed increased and he charged at the door like a bolt of thunder. At the moment he got close, the door opened up by a small gap. At the moment the gap opened, the world stopped. Wang Lin's body also stopped outside the gap. His eyes opened widely, and at this moment, it was as if his mind was sucked into the door. Everything Wang Lin saw caused him to tremble violently. It was as if his origin soul had left his body, as he could no longer feel his body. His whole being seemed to exist in endless chaos. The end of the month, wishing for the like button for the video, don't hold back, it's expiring. Chapter 723. Those who seek Tao understand during death, pitiful. This place is the heaven-defying beat space. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed as he immediately recognized this place. He was too familiar with this place. It was filled with chaos, and occasionally there would be balls of light glowing. The balls of light immediately began to change as if his gaze was a catalyst. The balls of light he was looking at suddenly swelled up. They swelled up too fast. In the blink of an eye, they were already huge. Wang Lin was stunned as the balls of light were now as big as a planet. A powerful aura came out from the balls of light. This aura was filled with vitality. This vitality was extremely pure, as if it was a newborn baby. Shortly after, clouds of dust appeared and were absorbed by the light. Soon they began to condense and formed land masses. Some of the dust formed rivers and oceans. Wang Lin gasped. This was a planet. The spiritual energy coming from it was very rich. Aside from not having any mortals living on it, it was no different from any other cultivation planet outside. While he was shocked, the planet immediately began to degrade as if time was reverting itself. In the blink of an eye, it was once more a ball of light, becoming smaller and smaller until it was only flickering. Wang Lin's mind gradually lost consciousness as the ball of light changed. He was completely immersed in this familiar yet foreign space. Time slowly passed as if there was no endpoint. Wang Lin seemed to have forgotten everything. He was in a strange state as he drifted in this endless space. He would always see the strange scene with the balls of light before his eyes. As he continued to watch this scene, Wang Lin could slowly feel a mysterious power build up. This power was everywhere, and he subconsciously wanted to search for its source. He didn't realize how similar this scene was to when he was comprehending the heavens and seeking to find the origin of the life and death domain. As he subconsciously searched for the source of this power, time passed, but he didn't care. Eons passed, but he didn't stop. It was as if he had become a wandering spirit, always pursuing. Wang Lin was seeking Tao, following the steps of Tao and seeking the end of Tao. It was as if everything in the world had become the distance past. It was as if everything had shattered and become nothing. They could no longer cause any waves in his heart. Those who seek Tao understand in the morning, and are dead by dusk, regrettable. Those who seek Tao understand during death, pitiful. There was no end to the search. Wang Lin had seen countless balls of light turn into a planet and then back into nothing. Every time this happened, he wanted to seize that trace of Tao. However, he failed to touch it every time, but he gradually felt like he was getting closer and closer to that trace of Tao. The Tao was only there for a moment before it disappeared once more. Wang Lin seemed to have found a clue during his confused search. The mysterious power he was seeking seemed to be something that was beyond the existence of law. This awareness was very light, but it left a deep impression. It had always been there since the beginning. The Tao seemed to be where his gaze was, but at the moment he moved his gaze, the Tao would seem to disappear. This was a very vague feeling, but it slowly flowed into Wang Lin's body. He gradually felt like he was catching up to the Tao's footprints and was about to grasp the source of the mysterious power. During this process, in which there was no concept of time, Wang Lin saw a planet. This planet was indeed formed by the balls of light and existed naturally. The vitality from this planet was very weak, but it was filled with warmth and tenderness. Beside this planet were two smaller planets. They were very close, and each gave off a sense of attachment. At the moment Wang Lin closed in, one of the smaller planets gave off a ripple. It seemed to be filled with joy, giving off a powerful emotion. At the moment Wang Lin saw the three planets, his mind trembled as he discovered something. He subconsciously wanted to raise his hand, but he didn't notice that in his current state, he didn't even have a body. However, his hand still appeared. It was as if all he needed to do was think, and it would materialize. His hand gently moved and a ripple appeared in the void. Under this ripple, the three planets immediately turned into 3 rays of light and entered Wang Lin's hand. Wang Lin stopped seeking Tao. In his trance-like state, it felt as if he was the Tao right now as he stopped. His mind slowly calmed down. Then his entire body subconsciously turned into a ball of light. As time passed, the ball of light he had turned into gradually expanded. He absorbed the surrounding dust and eventually a planet appeared. The mountains on this planet were spectacular, and the rivers were beautiful. The earth was filled with energy, and even the sea was as blue as the sky, as if it could accommodate the world. In the northern part of the planet there was only one family, one man and one woman who lived a quiet and peaceful life. It was as if they could have everything they wanted, including the countless mortals in the surrounding villages. On this day, a ray of light passed by the southern part of the planet. Inside the ray of light was a woman wearing white. The woman was beautiful and as gentle as water. Her black hair flowed in the air. Sometimes a few strands would get in front and she would tuck the hair behind her ear with her jade-like hands. As she flew, her eyes were filled with confusion. She looked down at the earth as she bit her lower lip and muttered, "Why does this world give me such a familiar feeling?" She pondered for a long time before shaking her head. Her figure moved like a ray of light and disappeared over the horizon. "I want to find the answer." The wind carried the woman's decisive voice. Time slowly passed as if it would last forever. Countless years passed and everything gradually changed. The only things that never changed were the three people. Two of them still lived a quiet life, and the last one was still looking for an answer. It wasn't until the end that the Tao finally arrived. The earth disappeared and the planet no longer existed. The three people turned back into three balls of light and then were caught inside a huge palm, which then drifted far away. As the palm dissipated, Wang Lin consciousness appeared. "So, this is Dao." Wang Lin's voice echoed in the void. Everything he was searching for ended with himself. A grand chapter. Not caring to read 4,500 words, can T bear to split it into 2 chapters. As the donkey dies a martyr, tears flow wishing for the like button for the video. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 724, seeing the third step. He himself was Tao. The heaven and earth were made up of countless Tao. He was Tao. Before him were countless balls of light changing from life to death and from death to life. This was his life and death Tao. In the karmic cycle, if there was karmic effect, then there was karmic cause, such as Li Muan's search for answers and Wang Ping's ordinary life. This was his karma Tao. For an instant, Wang Lin felt like he understood something, but at the same time he understood nothing. This kind of confusion was like a wave rocking in his mind. This wave became more and more intense until it caused his mind to tremble. He awakened. The moment he regained clarity, he felt like his origin soul would be pushed outside violently. When he opened his eyes, he was still outside the door. Nothing around him had changed. The thunder still rumbled and the violet light still covered the area. It was as if everything that had happened didn't happen at all. Wang Lin was still before the gate, and everything that happened was just his dream. So unreal and yet so real. The door that had only opened a gap slowly closed before his eyes and dissipated. The huge arm wrapped by the purple light also disappeared. The violet light contracted and changed back into the heaven-defying bead. There was mysterious change to the heaven-defying bead. Before, it had the 5 elements engraved on it. Now they were replaced by yin and yang. Yin was represented by a moon and yang was represented by a sun. Each covered half the heaven-defying bead, and were distinct from each other. It floated toward Wang Lin's forehead and entered the spot between his eyebrows. Wang Lin was still standing motionlessly in the air, and his eyes slowly closed. The scenes from before still echoed in his mind. He vaguely became aware of something. He seemed to have once more forgotten about the passage of time, and was only immersed in the comprehension in his heart that continued to echo in his mind. He carved the unreal dream bit by bit into his heart. Wang Lin knew that everything inside the dream was extremely precious. This was a heavenly opportunity. He couldn't tell anyone about the dream, and he wouldn't be able to explain it clearly anyway. He was actually afraid of telling anyone. He had a feeling that the All-Seer and company would be willing to give up everything for this opportunity, even if it meant giving up planet Tianyun, giving up all their magical treasures and spells. The All-Seer and company wouldn't have hesitated at all to have a chance to seek Tao like this, because this Tao seeking would open up that mysterious third step that tens of thousands cultivators were striving and craving for. Those who seek Tao understand in the morning and are dead by dusk. Those who seek Tao understand during death. Wang Lin still didn't know the value of the heaven-defying bead, but just the tip of the iceberg that he had seen shocked him greatly. This was something he would never forget. This seeking of Tao didn't cause his cultivation level to increase, but it refined his Tao. Before, when Wang Lin stood under the door, he felt a deep sense of awe from his soul. This was because of the difference in levels, just like how people appear in an ant's eyes. Although Wang Lin wasn't at the same level of existence as the door and he was still an ant in comparison, He was an ant that had seen the third step. He had seen the third step. While immersed in his thoughts, the thunder lake under Wang Lin seemed to be affected by something. A large amount of thunder began to spread in all directions. At this moment, a ray of thunder flew through the asteroid field. Inside the ray of thunder was a thunder beast in black armor. On the back of the thunder beast was the black-haired man. His eyes were filled with caution as he charged into the depths of the asteroid field. When he arrived near the asteroid field, he immediately noticed that something was wrong. The fluctuations of the thunder here were too violent, very different from the last time he was here. This thunder even contained an incredibly powerful aura. This shocked the black-haired man and made him extremely cautious. He slowly made his way through the asteroid field. He was very familiar with this place because he had been here many times to cultivate the thunder origin spell, but never had he been so on guard. He moved quickly, and after an unknown amount of time, he gradually grew closer to the center. The closer he got, the stronger that feeling of shock became. What exactly happened over there? The black-haired man's expression was gloomy. His cultivation level was at the corporeal yang stage, and he only needed a bit more to reach completion, and then he could enter the nirvana scryer stage. With his cultivation level, there weren't many things that could make him feel like this. However, at this moment, this feeling became even stronger. After hesitating for a bit, he clenched his teeth, and the thunder beast charged through the last layer of asteroids. He soon spotted the familiar thunder lake before him. He immediately saw Wang Lin above the thunder lake. The current Wang Lin was simply too strange in the black-haired man's eyes. Wang Lin was floating in the air. A large amount of thunder was moving through his body, and his hair was moving without any wind. The size of the thunder lake caused the black-haired man to gasp. The thunder lake before him made him felt like he had come to the wrong place. It was actually half the size of when he last came to this place. It looked endless before, but now it felt like he could almost see the other side. This person's appearance was like a stone thrown into calm water, creating countless ripples. Wang Lin slowly opened his eyes. This was a pair of indescribable eyes. They seemed to contain the world and all the laws of the world. It was as this pair of eyes could see through the heavens and earth. It gave off a shocking feeling, just like the huge arm that appeared before the door. This kind of feeling would shock anyone who saw it, and it make them feel awe as if they were only an ant. This pair of eyes contained some remnants of Wang Lin's unreal dream. At this moment, it was as if he was the heavens and earth. He was the heavenly Tao. This was the aura of the third step. Wang Lin's eyes were not focused and were filled with confusion as he casually looked at the black-haired man. This gaze caused the black-haired man to feel like countless thunderbolts had just exploded inside him. It was as if he had absorbed more thunder than he could handle with the thunder origin spell. His entire body seemed to have been fixed in place at this moment, and Wang Lin's eyes were the only things that existed in his world. At this instant, only this gaze existed in his life. Thunder rumbled in his ears, but it felt like it was very far away. He could clearly hear it, but not feel it. He couldn't understand what kind of gaze it was, but this gaze contained a mysterious force far beyond his comprehension. This power directly tore through his eyes and shook his entire being. His heartbeat reached a limit as if it was about to explode. All of the blood in his body circulated like crazy along with his origin energy. He was completely horrified. It was as if he would collapse under this gaze if he didn't cycle his origin energy. What power is this? The black-haired man wasn't able to move his body an inch. The origin energy in his energy cycled like crazy. Even if the origin energy dissipated or was wasted, he couldn't be bothered with that anymore. His mouth was dry and his body was long ago soaked in sweat. However, he just couldn't shift his eyes away from this crazy gaze. With his cultivation, this was the first time in his life he had felt something so terrifying. He wasn't this terrified even when he met the Lord of the Thunder Celestial Temple. Wang Lin calmly looked at the black-haired man. There was trace of his Tao seeking in his eyes. He only saw a person, but right now it didn't matter if they were cultivators or mortals. With that trace of comprehension in Wang Lin's eyes, the other person seemed like only an ant to him. While in the dream of seeking Tao, his gaze was the Tao that caused the balls of light to quickly go through an entire life cycle. He carried the gaze he had during that dream when he looked at the black-haired man. This person was like the balls of light in the dream. However, instead of quickly expanding, this person was quickly dissipating. The person dissipated layer by layer and didn't stop. The terror in the black-haired man's eyes had reached a limit. He had never experienced such a crisis of life and death. From the moment the gaze landed on him, he could feel his origin soul burning. The origin energy in his body seemed to have lost control and formed an invisible flame. The other person's gaze contained a terrifying power that he was unable to resist. It was as if the heavens were telling him to die. It was as if he was an ant, and a sense of awe had filled his entire body. Not only him, the thunder beast under him felt this even more strongly. It let out miserable cries, and his body began to dissipate at a visible speed, as if dirt returning to the earth. All of this happened in an instant. The cloudiness in Wang Lin's eyes disappeared. Then he took a deep breath and closed his eyes. The black-haired man's body almost collapsed when he awakened from the terrifying power. He was soaked in sweat, and more than half of the origin energy in his body was gone. His origin soul had shrunk one size, and he was extremely weak. As he stared at Wang Lin, terror filled his mind. Too terrifying. What kind of gaze was that? What cultivation level is he at? The black-haired man gasped, his body trembled, and his face turned completely pale. He regretted coming here. If he hadn't come here, he wouldn't have had to experience that terrifying gaze just now. He didn't doubt that if that mysterious person had looked at him for a few breaths longer, he would have collapsed. After that, he would have disintegrated, and all traces of him would have been destroyed. He wouldn't even have been able to escape with his origin soul. The thunder beast under him was even worse off, and it looked at Wang Lin with terror in its eyes. The pride of thunder beasts made them prefer to die than yield. However, that gaze was not as simple as death. It was a suppression from a higher level. Big brothers and little sisters, do you still have likes for the video? Wishing for the like button for the video to help. Chapter 725, The First Person to Pledge. In the eyes of the black-haired man, Wang Lin's figure was infinitely large. The black-haired man even believed that no one in the Al-Heaven star system would remain unharmed under that gaze, not even the head of the Thunder Celestial Temple. In particular, the disregard in those eyes made it seem as if the entire world was only a mere ant. This feeling made the black-haired man's body tremble. Given his pride, he had never felt respect like this toward anyone else. When the gap in power was not very large, he would be filled with thoughts of resisting. However, when he felt that someone's power was impossible to challenge and no one he had ever met could compare, he would only think about submitting. Dao sight, that gaze must be the legendary Dao sight. The black-haired man's terror was replaced with fanaticism. His mind was in shock and his body trembled. When he thought about the words Dao sight, he was filled with excitement and horror. Mortals have dream sight, and cultivators have Dao sight. However, this Dao sight was only a legend. The black-haired man only knew about rumors stating that a person had appeared in the Al-Heaven star system countless years ago. This person used their own strength and used only one spell to defeat all of the second-step cultivators in the Al-Heaven star system. Even among the second-step cultivators, aside from a limited few, most didn't even get to use one spell or magical treasure before they lost. That person was very disappointed and turned to leave. One person gathered the courage to ask the name of the spell, and what they got was one plain sentence. This spell is named Dao Sight. It wasn't created by me, and all of you are able to perform it. The black-haired man took a deep breath, immediately got off the thunder beast, and respectfully stood where he was. Now that he wasn't under Wang Lin's gaze, he became aware that there was another person sitting on an asteroid nearby. The black-haired man was startled when he saw the person. He naturally knew that it was a puppet. Then he saw the silver-horned thunder beast at the edge of the Thunder Lake. When he arrived, he was immediately caught by Wang Lin's gaze, so he didn't see anything else. Now that he had surveyed his surroundings, he was shocked once more. A silver-horned thunder beast, an illusory yin puppet. He is also a messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple. The black-haired man somewhat didn't dare to believe all of this. He didn't doubt Wang Lin's identity, but he didn't think such a powerful person would be a messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple. Before he could think too much, Wang Lin opened his eyes once more. His eyes were back to normal. Earlier, not only was the black-haired man shocked, Wang Lin was also startled by this. Could that feeling earlier have been the third step Wang Lin silently pondered? That feeling was something that could only be obtained by chance and not asked for. However, his cultivation level was too low. This feeling was something he could keep in his heart, but couldn't completely understand. The realistic scenes in the unreal dream opened the door for him to the third step. If anyone in the Al-Heaven or Alliance star system knew about this, they would all go crazy for the bead. The biggest goal of people like the All-Seer was the third step. They were willing to do anything for this third step. For them, the third step was nowhere to be found. They were still advancing in the darkness and bitterly searching. However, Wang Lin was able to obtain such an unimaginable opportunity due to the heaven-defying bead. Sometimes, fate was just like this. After seeing the Tao from the third step, Wang Lin's future achievements were unpredictable and unimaginable. Junior is a level 2 messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple, Shengong Hu. Shengong Hu greets Senior. The black-haired man immediately crawled on the ground in the position he used to acknowledge his teacher to show his respect. If an outsider had seen this, they would be extremely shocked. It has to be said that Shengong Hu was extremely proud and very vicious. Even among the messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple, he was a difficult person, and most cultivation families wouldn't dare to provoke him. Most importantly, this person's talent was amazing. Even the Lord of the Thunder Celestial Temple once said that Shengong Hu's talent could be considered top 30 in the All-Heaven star system. This person hadn't cultivated for long, only 1,000 years. In only 1,000 years, he managed to reach the corporeal yang stage, and was even at the peak. This kind of talent made people dread him even more than his viciousness. No one could determine what his limits were. Perhaps he could finally become a true second-step cultivator. Wang Lin didn't move. His expression was neutral as he calmly looked at Shengong Hu. After seeing a glimpse of the third step's Tao, although his cultivation level didn't increase, his mental strength went through a drastic change. The nature of his soul was different than before. At this moment, even if he stood before the All-Seer, he wouldn't feel any tension. It was just like mortals who had seen cultivators in their spells. When they looked at a mortal king, they were no longer afraid. Under Wang Lin's gaze, although Shengong Hu didn't feel the terror from before, he still trembled. That terrifying memory had been imprinted into his mind, and wouldn't dissipate even in death. In reality, it was a great opportunity for Shengong Hu. If the All-Seer and company had no chance of obtaining the bead, then they would choose to personally experience it without any hesitation. Even the thunder beast next to him lowered its head and no longer had any pride on his face. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze and calmly asked, "What is it?" His current state of mind was still somewhat in the unreal dream. Even his tone reflected this. Although Shengong Hu's cultivation was at the corporeal yang stage, his mind was greatly damaged right now. In particular, with his current timid heart, he would barely be able to use the power of an illusory yin cultivator. As for the thunder beast, it didn't even dare to raise its head. The gaze from earlier made it lose all its guts. Wang Lin's casual words suddenly stunned Shengong Hu. He quickly said, "Junior." Before he finished speaking, Wang Lin waved his right hand and said, "If there is nothing, then quickly leave." Wang Lin decided to carefully study the change in the heaven-defying bead. The power of the heaven-defying bead was far beyond his imagination. Just a gap in the door had allowed him to see the third step, if he opened it completely. Wang Lin's heart beat rapidly. He couldn't imagine what would happen. In addition, this dream caused his domain to improve. He wasn't far from the peak of the late stage of ascendant, the end of the first step of cultivation. Shengong Hu felt like Wang Lin's attitude was very normal. A powerful person should be like this, as he was the one who disturbed this senior's cultivation. This senior had been kind by not killing him. Thinking about the gaze from before, Shengong Hu didn't doubt that this senior had spared him. Otherwise, he would have without a doubt died. His trembling mind and shock had transformed into fanaticism and reverence. After taking a deep breath, he said, "Senior Junior is Shengong Hu, a member of the Shengong family in the Southern Domain. I am a level 2 messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple and a corporeal yang cultivator. I beg Senior to allow me to pledge to Senior." It wasn't that he wasn't able to see through Wang Lin's cultivation, but that terrifying gaze made him forget all of that. He even believed that this was a true powerful cultivator. If a powerful cultivator was hiding their cultivation level, they would make others believe that they were an ascendant cultivator. Pledge? Wang Lin was startled and looked at Shengong Hu. Shengong Hu quickly said, "Junior's cultivation is insufficient, and I know I am not qualified to pledge to Senior." However, Junior is extremely sincere, and moreover, I have a lot of families that are pledged to me, so Junior can help satisfy any of Senior's demands. Junior knows that such things are nothing in Senior's eyes, but I hope Senior will allow me to pledge to you given my sincerity. Wang Lin frowned. After pondering a bit, he shook his head. He couldn't use that spell again, and from one gaze, he could tell that this person was extremely prideful. If this person noticed something, it would cause unnecessary trouble. When Shen Gonghu saw Wang Lin shake his head, he immediately said, Senior Junior is extremely sincere and will never regret this no matter how much time passes. As long as Senior is willing to give me a few pointers during my breakthrough, Junior is willing to give up a part of my Tao soul to pledge to Senior for 1,000 years. As he spoke, his hand formed a seal and then pointed at his forehead. A black light that contained his domain and Tao flew out of his head. In the Al-Heaven star system, a person who pledges can selectively surrender something. One's Tao soul was the most important thing that could be given. Once their Tao soul was controlled by someone else, although it wasn't the same as death, their Tao heart could be affected. The consequences had much longer-lasting significance. Giving his Tao soul showed Shen Gonghu's sincerity. He was really frightened by Wang Lin's gaze. He had a vague feeling that if he gave up this chance today, he would regret it for the rest of his life. Shen Gonghu trusted his feeling a lot. A lot of important decisions in his life were made due to his feelings, and right now this feeling was very strong, which strengthened his belief. Looking at Shen Gonghu showing his Tao soul, Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. Although he didn't know what it was, he understood what it represented. After pondering for a long time, Wang Lin slowly asked, You won't regret it? Shen Gonghu immediately responded respectfully, Junior will definitely not regret it. Wang Lin no longer wasted any more time. He waved his hand and Shen Gonghu's Tao soul flew over. He devoured it, and it entered his origin soul. After putting away the Tao soul, Wang Lin calmly asked, Why did you come here? Shen Gonghu bitterly smiled. The Thunder Celestial Realm is about to open, so Junior wanted to borrow this place to cultivate some origin energy. Just in time to keep the manuscript, tonight's update might not be timely. If there's no second watch tonight, Leo will supplement tomorrow. However, Leo will try his best to finish today. Chapter 726 Condensing Thunder Origin. Wang Lin's expression was neutral, while he felt Shen Gonghu's Tao soul. This person's domain was similar to Ling Tianhu's, but there were differences. However, because Wang Lin didn't understand Shen Gonghu's life experiences, he wasn't able to get the full picture. How long before the Thunder Celestial Realm opens? Wang Lin spoke calmly and his eyes closed slightly. Shen Gonghu respectfully said, 10 more years before the Thunder Celestial Realm opens. Then one can use the Thunder Furnace to enter. Wang Lin pondered a bit. He was very interested in the Thunder Celestial Realm. When he entered the Rain Celestial Realm, he couldn't absorb any celestial jades. However, at this moment, he could absorb a large amount. This trip to the Thunder Celestial Realm would allow his cultivation to reach its completion. The Celestial Realm is broken. What is the restriction to entering the Celestial Realm? Wang Lin's eyes were bright as he looked at Shen Gonghu. Shen Gonghu was startled. After hesitating for a moment, he made some speculations based on Wang Lin's words. Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he calmly said, This old man is not someone from the Al-Heaven star system. The random thoughts in Shen Gonghu's mind disappeared. Almost at the moment Wang Lin spoke, he came to the same answer. In his mind, only this kind of origin fitted Wang Lin's status. Senior, my All-Heaven star system's Thunder Celestial Realm isn't too seriously damaged. The limitation on cultivation is late-stage ascendant. However, the Thunder Celestial Palace has a method for second-step cultivators to enter. The premise is that they don't use strength beyond early stage of Nirvana Scryer. Wang Lin nodded and then asked a few more details. This Thunder Celestial Realm was similar to the Rain Celestial Realm. After all, countless years ago, the Rain and Thunder Celestial Realms were both passages to the ancient Celestial Realm. After getting information, Wang Lin calmly looked at Shen Gonghu and said, Forget it. You can stay here and cultivate, but don't disturb this old man. Shen Gonghu quickly nodded. He had come here with the purpose to cultivate, but now he was seriously injured, and his cultivation level had dropped. It would be difficult to find a better place within just 10 years. Also, just healing his injuries would take a lot of time. It was possible that he would only manage to recover when the Thunder Celestial Realm opened. After Wang Lin allowed him to stay, he immediately felt gratitude in his heart. In truth, he would not normally feel like this, but he had already subconsciously surrendered in his heart. He was completely awed by Wang Lin's gaze. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze and no longer paid attention to Shen Gonghu. He turned around and walked toward the depths of the Thunder Lake. At the beginning, Shen Gonghu didn't notice, but soon he sighed. This was indeed someone with a higher cultivation level, and his thunder was not ordinary. With his cultivation, he could only go 50 steps deep, and not half a step further. However, his gaze followed Wang Lin and saw Wang Lin walk 100 steps into the Thunder Lake before sitting down. Shen Gonghu took a deep breath, and his eyes filled with reverence. Due to being injured, he was only able to take 10 steps before he couldn't proceed further. At this point, he quickly sat down and began cultivating the Thunder Origin spell. His Thunder Beast also carefully took a few steps in. Its large head would occasionally turn toward Wang Lin, and its eye would fill with fear. It was a spirit beast, so its instincts made it fear Wang Lin's gaze even more. That gaze had made the Thunder Beast almost lose its mind. It felt like it was returning back to its origin. It had never felt something like this before. Even now it was still terrified of Wang Lin. Just as it was about to lie down, a roar came from far away. Wang Lin's Thunder Beast slowly walked over, and when it walked by Shen Gonghu's Thunder Beast, Wang Lin's Thunder Beast gave it a vicious gaze. Shen Gonghu's Thunder Beast backed up and no longer dared to approach. Its pride was completely shattered by Wang Lin's gaze. Otherwise, with how it was about to grow its horn, it wouldn't have yielded like this. The silver-horned Thunder Beast shook its head and cheerfully walked by. It walked 10 steps into the Thunder Lake and lied down to absorb the thunder. In the distance, the Celestial Guard was sitting on an asteroid. Its eyes were flashing and would occasionally look at Shen Gonghu. 100 steps was Wang Lin's limit, and this was only because he had seen the third step, which caused his soul to evolve. Looking at the thunder, he felt like he could vaguely see strange changes similar to when he used the heavenly chop. When he noticed this change, Wang Lin was able to take 100 steps before he couldn't move any further. He sat down and began absorbing thunder into his body. The Thunder Origin spell extracted the thunder and constantly refined the origin energy from it. As time passed, large amounts of thunder gathered from all directions and was absorbed into his body. As the Thunder Origin spell operated, it slowly drew out the origin energy from the thunder and nourished his origin soul. A very comfortable feeling slowly emerged from Wang Lin's body. When Wang Lin had reached Ascendant due to Zhou Yi's Ascendant Crystal, so Wang Lin had more origin energy than most cultivators. This meant that his path was very smooth, but the use of the heavenly chop and the battle with Thunder Taoist caused him to consume too much origin energy. As a result, he was at the edge of his cultivation level dropping. Origin energy was something that was very difficult to recover for first-step cultivators. If Wang Lin didn't have a Thunder Origin soul, he would have regretted all his life. As the origin energy entered Wang Lin and nourished his origin soul slowly recovered. This process was very slow. Wang Lin's hand formed a seal and then started shaking. A large ripple of thunder immediately spread out, and 10 times the amount of thunder instantly charged toward Wang Lin. Even he couldn't help but feel numbness. Wang Lin took a deep breath and immediately began refining. Wang Lin's action caused a series of explosions that awakened Shen Gonghu. He took a deep breath and opened his eyes. However, when he saw Wang Lin, his pupils suddenly shrank. He is worthy of being a senior. He dared to attract so much thunder into his body at 100 steps. If I was in that position, my flesh wouldn't be able to bear it, and even my origin soul would be damaged. Shen Gonghu's eyes lit up and were filled with excitement. It looks like I need to work harder. Shen Gonghu's eyes lit up, and then he attracted more thunder into his body. His body trembled and immediately began to absorb it. Wang Lin activated the Thunder Origin spell, and 10 times more thunder than before entered his body. Under the increased amount of thunder, the origin energy inside his origin soul gradually began to recover faster. However, it was still far from completely recovering. After all, only a sliver of origin energy could be extracted from every strand of thunder, and after being refined, even less was left for consumption. Time slowly passed, and in the blink of an eye, 2 years went by. In 2 years, Wang Lin remained almost motionless, but instead of 10 times the normal thunder, he was absorbing 20 times the normal thunder. He was like a humanoid piece of metal that was thrown into the thunder lake and attracted thunder like crazy. As for Shen Gonghu, he worked even harder during these 2 years, and his injuries gradually recovered. During these 2 years, Wang Lin had observed Shen Gonghu. This person also cultivated the thunder origin spell. However, Wang Lin was only able to absorb a trace from every strand of thunder, while Shen Gonghu was able to absorb 10 times more. As he observed and gradually discovered some clues, this had a lot to do with how much origin energy one had. The more origin energy one had, the more origin energy could be absorbed. It was this characteristic that made the disparity between each level in the second step so great. During these 2 years, Wang Lin engraved everything he saw about the third step into his heart and often comprehended them, so he had some harvest. On this day, he stood up and walked toward the center of the Thunder Lake. Snapping sounds filled the area after each step. The change attracted Shen Gonghu's attention. He opened his eyes and looked at Wang Lin. Not only had the excitement in his eyes not lessened, there were even glimmers of expectation. Wang Lin didn't pay any attention to Shen Gonghu and looked toward the center of the Thunder Lake. This Thunder Lake was too big. Although it had shrunk by half due to the heaven-defying bead, it was still shocking. At this moment, Wang Lin was only considered to be at the edge and was too far away from the center. The thunder in the Thunder Lake was naturally more powerful the closer it was to the center, which was the spot with the highest concentration of origin energy. It could even said that the origin energy inside 100 strands of thunder at the edge couldn't compare to the origin energy inside 1 strand of thunder at the center. After pondering for a while, Wang Lin raised his feet and stepped forward. His heart was calm and even contained a hint of caution. However, not far away, Shen Gonghu was extremely excited as he looked at Wang Lin and thought, "I am finally able to see a spell from Senior. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I must watch carefully and perhaps I'll gain some enlightenment." He was very excited, not any less than when he broke through the first step and entered the illusory yin stage. In fact, his excitement was several times more intense than that time. Aside from the fact that this place was suitable for healing his injuries, the other reason he wanted to cultivate it here was to follow Wang Lin. He hoped to obtain pointers from Wang Lin, or even see spells from a distance. He waited for 2 years and now he finally got the opportunity. Without any hesitation, Shen Gonghu dispersed the thunder around his body. He watched at Wang Lin's every move, ready to firmly remember everything he witnessed. Even the armored thunder beast raised its head and looked at Wang Lin in the distance. Its eyes were filled with awe, and there was even a glimmer of expectation. Only Wang Lin's silver-horned thunder beast rolled its eyes and didn't even look over. It sleepily lied there and absorbed the thunder. Reading so much. Besides, the golden keyboard is active. I ask everyone to support a bit more, not just words of support. I'm afraid I can't even carry the last 3. Chapter 727, Law of Thunder. Only by going deeper to absorb thunder can I speed things up. If I stay on the edge even though I am absorbing 10 times the thunder and the effect looks the same, in reality, there is a huge difference. Wang Lin's serenity pondered as he walked toward the center of the Thunder Lake. This step caused a ripple when it landed on the Thunder Lake. It attracted countless bolts of thunder. Wang Lin's mind was focused and his eyes gave off lightning. His origin soul was like his heart right now. Although it wasn't pounding, it pulsed thunder that filled his body. His body was made of thunder, so thunder filled his body without any resistance as this origin soul released more. The thunder moved through his body and created a series of explosions. This thunder echoed inside his body. Wang Lin moved forward and took another step. A thunderstorm immediately appeared inside the Thunder Lake, attracting large amounts of thunder. The thunderbolts fell and made it look like a real thunder prison that prevented all life from moving forward. There was a powerful might of thunder inside this thunder. Compared to this, the might of thunder inside Wang Lin's origin soul was like comparing a firefly to the bright moon. This place is very strange. The strength of the thunder here is simply too amazing. Wang Lin's feet landed, causing a loud series of explosions that echoed across the Thunder Lake. He didn't stop, and continued moving forward 10 steps. Every step he took triggered a loud explosion even more fierce than thunder. It was as if the entire world was trembling. In particular, Wang Lin's speed was very fast, so he took 10 steps almost instantaneously. The thunderous rumbling echoed across space. This shock set off a huge thunder shockwave. At this moment, it looked like the world was covered in lightning, and it was a very shocking scene. Wang Lin couldn't take one more step. His current location was still at the edge of the Thunder Lake, but his origin soul couldn't bear it anymore. It felt like if he took one more step, his origin soul would be injured. My origin soul has devoured half of an ancient thunder dragon and my body is made of thunder. My entire being is almost no different from real thunder, but even so, I have to stop here. This thunder here is simply too powerful. Wang Lin felt reluctance in his heart and began to ponder. Not far away, Shengong frowned, and his eyes revealed a hint of disappointment. The reverence in his eyes died down as he looked at Wang Lin and thought, this isn't right. With Senior S cultivation, why did he stop there? Could it be his eyes lit up? Even the thunder beast beside him was watching closely, and the fear in its eyes dissipated slightly. The silver-horned thunder beast didn't move and continued to cultivate as if it already knew this result. As Wang Lin stood there longer, Shengong Hu's disappointment became even stronger, and he let out a sigh. He wanted to see a powerful spell of the person he pledged to, but unfortunately, he saw nothing. This strong contrast caused the powerful reverence he had for Wang Lin to die down a lot. His extinguished Tao heart was also slowly recovering. Although 100 steps is an uncrossable gap for me right now, once my cultivation breaks through to the Nirvana Scrya stage, I will definitely be able to achieve a mere 100 steps. However, as a senior, how could he only be this strong? Shengong Hu's expression turned gloomy and he began to observe carefully. Wang Lin looked at the Thunder Lake before him. At this moment, it was as if he had forgotten everything. Everything around him disappeared, and it was as if the Thunder Lake was the only thing remaining. Just like when he was outside the gate and looking into the gap, into the heaven-defying beat-s space. Just like back then, he even forgot about his own body and looked only at the endless Thunder Lake. After an unknown amount of time, after forgetting about time, forgetting everything, Wang Lin's body moved. He casually walked forward. This step was very casual, but it seemed to fall just at the right time. A bolt of thunder just happened to appear right under his feet. It looked as if he had stepped on that bolt of thunder. Shengong Hu's originally diminishing reverence and gloomy expression was startled. He seemed to have gained enlightenment, but couldn't understand it. The armored thunder beast was also startled. The beast's eyes narrowed as it looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin had no expression. It remained neutral. His eyes were empty as he took another step. Just like last time, the moment his foot landed, there was a bolt of thunder for him to step on. Shortly after, Wang Lin took another step. From beginning to end, he was extremely casual, as if he wasn't walking toward the Thunder Lake but into his own backyard. With every step he took, there would be a bolt of thunder under his feet. Shengong Hu's eyes opened fiercely. His eyes were filled with aghast and he sucked in a breath of cold air. The disappearing reverence showed signs of returning, and the disappointment immediately disappeared. As he stared at Wang Lin, the aghast in his eyes became stronger and stronger. In his eyes, one time might be accidental. Even twice or three times it could still be considered accidental or lucky. However, a bolt of thunder would appear to support every step Wang Lin took. This was no longer something that words accident and luck could explain. In his eyes, this was something completely impossible. This was thoroughly beyond his imagination. At this moment, in his eyes, Wang Lin had become the master of all the thunder in the world. The strange behavior of the Thunder Lake was clearly welcoming Wang Lin. Welcoming, yes, it's welcoming him. The aghast in Shengong Hu's eyes became even stronger and filled his body. At this moment, a sense of excitement raged through his body like a storm. He had waited for 2 years to see spells like this. The armored thunder beast beside him suddenly raised its head. The feeling of awe appeared once more inside this thunder beast. The thunder beast's comprehension for thunder was far above its master's. In its view, the Thunder Lake wasn't welcoming Wang Lin. It was that Wang Lin's every step was landing on a vein of the Thunder Lake. Not far away, the silver-horned thunder beast that never looked over and seemed to not want to even look at Wang Lin suddenly stood up. Its huge eyes were filled with never-before-seen horror as it stared directly at Wang Lin. In Wang Lin's eyes, what he saw was no longer the Thunder Lake, but rays of light that would appear and disappear. Every time his foot landed, he would always land on the shining light. He seemed to have gained enlightenment in his heart, as if this was the most correct method. He took step after step and seemed to have forgotten everything. Shen Gonghu's body trembled, and he didn't dare to blink. He didn't want to miss even a moment of what was happening. He couldn't even believe everything that was happening before him. Wang Lin moved faster and faster until he only left an after-imagine, but that bolt of thunder would always appear under his feet every time. In the end, Wang Lin's body gave off a bright flash of thunder, and then a violent thunderstorm was set off around him. He was like a solitary boat that was calmly and firmly drifting among the raging waves of thunder. Too terrifying. This is real, a thunder spell. This is real thunder. The reverence in Shen Gonghu's eyes increased once more, and his heart started pounding as if it was going to burst out of his chest. His reverence was several times stronger than it was 2 years ago. His reverence for Wang Lin reached such a new height that it could be considered blind belief. The thunder beast beside him shook violently, and the awe it felt was even more intense. Its feeling for thunder was much more profound than Shen Gonghu's. It thought that Wang Lin was the origin of thunder, and the awe from the depths of its soul made it completely surrender. At this moment, if Wang Lin asked it to attack Shen Gonghu, it would comply without any hesitation. Wang Lin's silver-horned thunder beast was even more shocked. It felt disbelief as it stared at Wang Lin. Its body trembled from the memories in its inheritance. At this moment, Wang Lin stopped, and the strange scene before him disappeared. This state came without a trace and disappeared without a trace. At the moment his body stopped, Wang Lin awakened. His eyes were filled with confusion, and it took him a long time to gradually recover. This caused his understanding of thunder to become more profound. He knew that everything he saw was related to the comprehension he had toward the third step. Although this didn't increase his offensive power, it was far more important than any celestial spell or treasure. It was like an ant that had seen the human world and saw the magnificent cities. After seeing those incredible scenes and returning back to its cave, the ant would notice the similarities between the two worlds. Wang Lin was currently feeling like this. When he woke up, he found himself in the inner part of the Thunder Lake. Although this was still far from the center, the distance could no longer be described in steps. The thunder around here was far more dense than the thunder at the edge. All of the thunder here contained large amounts of origin energy. Wang Lin sat down and absorbed one strand. This strand of thunder entered his body and immediately caused him to tremble as if a powerful force had just shocked him. His entire body felt numb, and even his origin soul began to slow down as if it was in water. Shen Gonghu withdrew his gaze. His reverence for Wang Lin had reached a peak. He had gained some enlightenment for him before, so he was very excited. Just as he was about to sit down and cultivate on this enlightenment, he suddenly frowned. His eyes became cold, and he looked at the distant asteroid field. Shortly after, a ray of purple light flew over. There was a wooden sword inside this light, and a person was standing on the wooden sword. "This place sure is lively." A mocking voice slowly arrived. Fans celebrating the new year, please join the VIDEEO fan battle team. If you need to complete a mission, Leo can praise everyone in the chapter narration. Skip to content. HOMECOMPLETED 7 killers. KRCQUIRINGTALENT in a DUNGEON HALTED KRBREAKERSBLUEPHOENIXCHILD of LIGHT COILINGDRAGON KR Emperor of Solo Play Dragon KINGWITHSEVENSTARS KR God of Crime and Hero Shed No TEARS Horizon Bright Moon SABRE I shall seal the heavens KR I am sorry for being born in this world and OVERTHROWING FATE PRAISETHEORCKR Soul Station S Necromancer Stellar Transformations Warlock of the Magus World Chinese Immortal S Journey to Immortalitia Will Eternal Against the Gods ANCIENTSTRENGTHEN INGTECHNI QUEBATTLETHROUGHTHEAVENS CHARM of SOULPETS CITY of SIN DEMONHUNTER DESOLATEERA EMPERORSDOMINATION. Gate of Revelation, Heavenly Jewel Change, Imperial God Emperor. Invincible, Legend of the Dragon King, Lord of all realms. Marshal God Asura, Martial World. Monarch of Evernight, PERFECTWORLD, REBIRTH of TH, ETHIEFRENEG, EEEIM, MORTAL, Skyfire Avenue, OVEREIGN of THE, THREEREALMS, SPIRITREAL, SPIRITVESSEL, TALES of DEMONS and GODS, Talisman Emperor, TRRORINFINITY, THEGODSFALLCHRONICLES, the Grandmaster Strategist, the Great Ruler, Transcending Vision, Unrivaled Tang Sect, UPGRADESPECIALIST in ANOTHERWORLD, WUDONGQIANKUN, KOREANDRAGON, Makinwari, reincarnated for nothing infinite competitive dungeon society over Geardred stormed the book, eating magician originals condemning the heavens legends of Ogre Gaitha divine elementary sources about us contact. Whose general fact basic DAO primer death blade. S learning Chinese fact general glossary of term Chinese idiom glossary Wuxia Xianxia, terms of address cores in Chinese cultivation novels chess biography ergen biography biography posting schedule terms of service later thought series forums wiki. Enable night mode, disable night mode. Renegade chapter 728. Chapter 728 Doubt. This was a purple wooden sword that gave off a cold and fierce aura. The sword also gave off a purple glow and left behind a trail of purple. The purple light stopped outside the Thunder Lake. On the sword stood a man about 30 years old. His face was white without any facial hair and he was slightly handsome. However, his phoenix eyes revealed a strange feminine feel. He was wearing a golden purple robe that seemed to flow with an invisible wind. His gaze went past Shen Gonghu and landed on Wang Lin. What the man saw caused his pupils to shrink an indiscernible amount, and all of the pores on his body immediately opened. At the moment this person appeared, Shen Gonghu's expression became gloomy. The thunder beast beside him stood and growled, its eyes filled with a hostile gaze. As for the silver-horned thunder beast, it withdrew its gaze from Wang Lin and glanced at the feminine man. Its eyes were filled with disdain as he lied there and began playing with the thunder around it. Those strands of thunder were extremely obedient under its control. They moved around its body like little hands scratching an itch. Not far away on an asteroid, the celestial guard just sat there and didn't even look over. If this person threatened its owner, it would immediately attack even if it had to sacrifice itself. This was due to the imprint left on its soul. However, if there were no threat to its master, then the person before him could slaughter 100,000 people and it wouldn't move an inch. Shen Gonghu said, "John Kongli." The feminine man carefully withdrew his gaze from Wang Lin because he was afraid of causing a misunderstanding. In his view, although this person's cultivation level was only at the late stage of ascendant, to be able to enter the inner ring of the Thunder Lake was simply too strange. Unless this person was hiding an unimaginably powerful treasure, he must have been hiding his real cultivation level. He also saw the silver-horned thunder beast at the edge of the Thunder Lake and the puppet. His suspicion deepened. He thought, he must have some hidden treasure. It's impossible for him to be concealing his cultivation level. Just why are there two thunder beasts here? Could this person also be a messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple? After all, being inside the inner circle of the Thunder Lake was a terrifying prospect. Even with his peak corporeal yang cultivation, it was impossible for him to enter the inner circle. It's the Shengong family S. Shengong Hu. I didn't recognize you before. Your cultivation level has dropped a lot. The feminine man focused his mind and looked at Shengong Hu. Shengong Hu coldly snorted in his head, but his expression remained the same. However, his eyes were a bit gloomy as he calmly said, "This place is not for you. Why haven't you left yet?" Although he was injured and his cultivation hadn't recovered, with Wang Lin here, he would still dare to speak like this even if the Lord of the Thunder Celestial Temple personally came. Zhang Kongli frowned and subconsciously looked at Wang Lin. He slowly said, "What big words. Does this place belong to your Shengong family? You 1T allow outsiders to come just because you brought a junior here to cultivate." Shen Gonghu sneered but didn't explain. He coldly said, "If you don't leave in 3 breaths, then you might as well not leave." He really disliked this talented man from the Zhang family. If it wasn't for the fact that their strengths were very close, the two would have already attacked each other. If this Zhang Kongli remained ungrateful and disturbed his senior's cultivation, he would attack even though his cultivation was damaged. As long as Senior looked at Zhang Kongli with that gaze, it would be enough to cause Zhang Kongli to collapse. After all, this person wasn't a messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple. Although killing him would be troublesome, as long as Senior was here, it would be a small matter. Zhang Kongli's eyes narrowed, and then he immediately retreated. He was a cautious person, and as he retreated, his eyes fell on Wang Lin, who was in the depths of the Thunder Lake. The suspicion in his heart became even stronger. Why does this Shen Gonghu speak like this? His injuries can easily be seen through by any discerning eye. Could he be bluffing? If he isn't bluffing, then he must have a reason. Could it be this junior? Zhang Kongli thought about many things at once. 3 breaths have passed. Shen Gonghu grinned and stood up. Thunder immediately filled his body and gave off popping sounds. He charged out, and the thunder beast let out a roar as it followed closely behind. However, the difference was that as it stepped out, it subconsciously looked at Wang Lin. Its eyes were filled with awe and were without a trace of doubt. The thunder beast's gaze caused Zhang Kongli's mind to tremble. Although Shen Gonghu was a scheming person, the thunder beast was very different. The information revealed by the thunder beast's eyes couldn't be thought about too deeply. The answer that its gaze revealed shook Zhang Kongli's mind. Due to his cautious personality, he immediately backed up without hesitation and shouted, "Shen Gonghu, I am a considerate person. If you and I battle here, it will inevitably disturb your junior's cultivation. If you want to battle, let us leave here and battle outside the asteroid field." There was an emphasis on the word junior. Shen Gonghu's gaze became cold as he stepped outside the Thunder Lake and sneered. "Why go through so much trouble? Here we'll be fine." The more Shen Gonghu was like this, the more doubt Zhang Kongli felt. He would rather retreat than attack. It was clear that Shen Gonghu was trying to force him to attack. Thinking about the Thunder Beast's gaze, an absurd idea emerged in Zhang Kongli's mind. His eyes lit up, his hand formed a seal, and a ray of purple thunder appeared in his palm. The purple wood sword under him released powerful sword energy. The two forces fused to form a powerful pressure. This powerful pressure contained origin energy. It was only the first spell, but he was already using origin spell. It was clear that Zhang Kongli was extremely cautious of this battle. The battle was an instant away from starting. Shen Gonghu took a step and his hand pointed at the sky as if he was about to summon divine retribution lightning. The thunder beast beside him roared and gathered countless thunderbolts toward its body. The two of them were creating a very shocking scene. However, just at this instant, Wang Lin slowly opened his eyes and calmly said, "Shen Gonghu, I will not help you in this battle. Let it be your test for pledging under me. If you lose, then I'll return your Tao soul back to you." Wang Lin's expression was neutral, but he was secretly distressed. He didn't stand a chance against Shen Gonghu nor this Zhang Kongli. Once Shen Gonghu failed, he would be in a bad situation. He originally wanted to find a quiet place to cultivate, but he seemed unable to achieve this. After this troublesome Zhang Kongli had appeared, Wang Lin quickly thought about this and spoke those words. Shen Gonghu's body trembled, and the battle intent in his eyes reached a limit. He stared at Zhang Kongli, but respectfully replied, "Wang Lin, Lord can rest assured, Shen Gonghu will not be defeated." Shen Gonghu took a deep breath as he touched his bag of holding and took out a bottle of pills. Zhang Kongli's expression changed greatly. The moment Wang Lin said those words, he saw the hidden reverence inside Shen Gonghu's eyes. When he saw that kind of demeanor, he thought that his eyes had gone bad. Also, that thunder beast's body trembled when that person spoke. It seemed as if it was terrified. In particular, the person talked about pledging. This information caused Zhan Kongli's mind to shake greatly. If these only made him doubt, then Shen Gonghu's response shocked Zhan Kongli. It was enough to make every hair in his body stand up. Lord. This word was not something easily spoken in the Alheaven star system. This was especially true for second-step cultivators like them. Only after pledging themselves to a powerful existence would someone call the other Lord. Zhan Kongli didn't suspect Shen Gonghu was faking, because none of this was worth it. Shen Gonghu was extremely arrogant and was the kind of person that would rather die than humiliate himself. Moreover, even if the two of them battled, it would be extremely difficult for either to die. At most they'd be seriously injured. Even Zhan Kongli himself wouldn't casually call someone Lord just to avoid a battle that wouldn't even decide his life and death. After combining this with his previous speculations, that absurd idea came into his mind once more. His eyes were filled with terror as if he still couldn't believe it. Could it be that this person didn't rely on a magical treasure to enter the inner part of the Thunder Lake, but has concealed his cultivation? If it isn't so, how could he make the arrogant Shen Gonghu pledge and call him Lord? Zhan Kongli sucked in a breath of cold air and quickly retreated once more. His mind quickly changed, and he immediately said, "Brother Shen Gong shouldn't be impulsive." Shen Gonghu's eyes became cold and he crushed the pill bottle in his hand. There was only one red pill inside and he swallowed it. His aura became violent and tyrannical immediately after doing so. "Zhan Kongli, battle with me." With a roar, Shen Gonghu's right hand pointed at the sky. The origin energy inside his body rushed out, and in an instant a dragon-like bolt of thunder descended from the void. This move affected the Thunder Lake. Countless strands of thunder gathered toward Shen Gonghu. When Wang Lin saw Shen Gonghu's origin spell, his eyes revealed a strange light. This spell was very strong. It involved using one's own origin energy to call out heavenly thunder. This wasn't any weaker than the Origin Furnace spell. Although it wasn't as grand as the Origin Furnace spell, it was even more powerful. Zhan Kongli's expression changed and he retreated once more. At the same time, his foot moved and the wooden sword flew up. He pointed at the wooden sword and it shot out. The wooden sword was covered in a purple light and carried with it a violent rumble. Shen Gonghu's eyes were filled with battle intent. He wanted to display all his strength in this battle because Senior was watching. It's time to double the likes for the VIDEO, wishing for more likes for the VIDEO. Chapter 729, I am so badass. Shen Gonghu let out a roar. His hand trembled slightly as he was injured. Although he had slightly recovered and had the help of the Thunder Celestial Temple's pill to suppress the injuries, allowing him to reach his peak for a moment, it still wasn't enough to use this spell. He clenched his teeth, and his right hand suddenly fell. The divine tribulation lightning that appeared suddenly descended with unimaginable might. Zhan Kongli's expression turned gloomy. His hand rapidly formed seals, and he spat out a mouthful of his body's vitality, which landed on the wooden sword. The wooden sword let out a roar before emitting a powerful sword energy and shooting directly at the divine tribulation lightning. When the two collided, a shocking bang spread across the area. The lightning collapsed and the wooden sword retreated. The remaining origin energy reached a limit and a large amount of asteroids collapsed. Zhan Kongli's body trembled and he retreated a few steps. His expression was pale as he gloomily stared at Shen Gonghu. He was angered, and now his eyes were filled with battle intent as well. Shen Gonghu also retreated until he backed up into the Thunder Lake. Blood was coming out from the corner of his mouth. He looked at Zhan Kongli and smiled. "I find your feminine face displeasing to the eye. I didn't expect you to actually have some skill." Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He had observed the battle just now very carefully and had gained some enlightenment. He wouldn't be able to withstand a hit from either of these two corporeal yang origin spells. However, he saw some problems. Shen Gonghu's origin spell seemed imperfect. The power of that divine retribution lightning should have been stronger. Wang Lin had, after all, seen the world of the third step, and before he had stepped into the inner ring, he had vaguely seen the law of thunder. So it wasn't a surprise for him to see problems in Shen Gonghu's spell. This kind of phenomenon sometimes occurred in the mortal world's martial arts world. Someone who knew no martial arts but had read countless secret techniques and manuals would often be able to point out problems when they saw a move as the spectator. Although that person could see through the technique and gave out pointers, that person wasn't able to use it personally. Wang Lin was currently in this state. His eyes lit up and he said, Shengong Hu, your origin spell contained the power of thunder but not the soul of thunder. Although your Tao heart fused with it, it isn't enough. Your faith lacks the power of thunder. Shengong Hu was startled. This wasn't the first time he had heard those words. The Lord of the Thunder Celestial Temple and his family elders had also said this. However, hearing it from Wang Lin made him nervous, and he respectfully said, Please give me guidance, my lord. Not only Shengong Hu, but the distant Zhan Kongli was also startled. He became more and more inclined to that absurd speculation he had. He had the same problem Shengong Hu did. The Zhan family elder had also said this, and it was something they had to comprehend on their own. This was something not even the elders really understood and were still discovering, so how could they teach their juniors if they didn't know what was right or wrong? If they were right, it would be fine, but what if they were wrong? After all, no one knew if their path was right or wrong compared to the true path. This was because one knew the path to the third step. However, Wang Lin was different. He had seen the third step, so he knew the direction of progression. Others were afraid to say anything, because even if they did, they weren't sure if it was correct. However, Wang Lin was different. He knew that what he had said was definitely correct. The current scene was extremely bizarre. Both Shengong Hu and Zhan Kongli were both having a fierce battle filled with monstrous battle intent, but at the next instant, both of them had given up battling. Instead, they were focused on Wang Lin. Their gazes were different. Shengong Hu's was filled with blind reverence, while Zhan Kongli's was filled with doubt. Wang Lin didn't continue to speak. This kind of thing was not something that could be clearly explained. While confused, if one understood, they would understand. Otherwise, they needed an opportunity, or else they would never understand. While pondering, Wang Lin raised his right hand and casually pinched the air. A strand of thunder landed in his palm. In the eyes of Shengong Hu and Zhan Kongli, the power wasn't strong. However, what happened next caused both of them to gasp. Wang Lin's eyes released a strange light as he stared at the strand of thunder and waved his right hand. The strand of thunder disappeared, and what was left was a flickering light. It wasn't able to last very long and collapsed after a moment. Wang Lin closed his eyes to conceal the exhaustion within them. If it wasn't for the fact that the current situation was too dangerous, he wouldn't have bothered to put up this act. As Wang Lin closed his eyes, he slowly said, Do you understand? Origin returned to the origin. Shengong Hu's eyes shined brightly, and his body trembled from excitement. He gave Wang Lin a deep bow without any hesitation. His reverence for Wang Lin increased almost to the point of worship. He was suddenly enlightened as if a layer of paper was torn through. At this moment, Shengong Hu was enlightened. He suddenly turned toward Zhan Kongli with glowing eyes and said, Let us fight again. At this moment, Zhan Kongli's scalp was numb, and his speculation of Wang Lin had reached a peak. He no longer doubted the absurd idea in his mind. He took a few steps back and then bowed toward Wang Lin and respectfully said, This junior is Zhan Kongli. I didn't know senior was cultivating here. I offended you earlier, and I hope senior can forgive me. Junior will leave right away. He looked enviously at Shengong Hu. He had already understood why someone as arrogant as Shengong Hu would pledge to another. Zhan Kongli's voice contained a sour tone as he clasped his hands and said, Congratulations, brother Shengong. Shengong Hu didn't speak and coldly looked at Zhan Kongli. Zhan Kongli didn't mind and laughed. Brother Shengong, I have already received a summon book from the Thunder Celestial Temple. In the future, both you and I will be messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple. He once again bowed toward Wang Lin before turning around and leaving. Shengong Hu didn't stop him, but his eyes turned frosty. Wang Lin calmly asked, What is a summon book? Shengong Hu quickly turned around and respectfully said, The summon book is a communication token from the Thunder Celestial Temple. Any candidate for becoming a messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple will receive a summon book. 3 months before the Thunder Celestial Realm opens, the Thunder Celestial Hall will reorganize their messengers. If there are any messengers missing, the candidates will compete with each other for the position. With Zhan Kongli's cultivation, if there are no accidents, I fear he will win this time. Wang Lin nodded slightly. He no longer spoke and continued to absorb thunder and converting it into origin energy. Shengong's eyes revealed excitement. He had gained some enlightenment earlier, and now he immediately sat down in the Thunder Lake to cultivate. Time slowly passed. In the blink of an eye, 8 years went by. Adding the 2 years from before, 10 years passed by in a flash. The origin energy inside Wang Lin gradually stabilized, as he absorbed origin energy using the Thunder Origin spell. His origin soul was now full and couldn't absorb anymore. Wang Lin knew that it was because his cultivation level wasn't high enough. Only after entering the second step could he continue to absorb origin energy. Right now, the most important thing was to break through his own cultivation. He stood up and looked at the thunder around him. The 10 years of contact made him understand thunder even better. It was as if he could see the origin of thunder, even though it was a bit blurry. His body moved and Wang Lin left the inner part of the Thunder Lake. He made his way toward the edge. Shen Gonghu was sent away by Wang Lin 3 years ago. Although this person revered him, Wang Lin didn't feel comfortable. Before Shen Gonghu left, he left a message Jade. The silver-horned thunder beast came over. Wang Lin sat on the thunder beast and it turned into a ray of thunder as it flew away from this place. The celestial guard once more returned to Wang Lin's shadow. Due to absorbing thunder in the Thunder Lake for 10 years, the speed of the thunder beast had increased. It rushed out of the asteroid field and disappeared among the stars. Wang Lin already knew the changes the heaven-defying bead had gone through. Not only were the 3 souls inside not affected, they looked even brighter than before. I must go to the Thunder Celestial Realm that is opening in 20 years. However, right now I need to find a hidden place to increase my cultivation level. Also, due to the change in the heaven-defying bead, it no longer needs the power of the 5 elements. So what does it need now? Wang Lin began to ponder on the back of the Thunder Beast. The heaven-defying bead was split between yin and yang. The 2 weren't fused, which confused Wang Lin. Sun and moon, yin and yang. As Wang Lin pondered, the Thunder Beast flew through the star-filled space. After an unknown amount of time, Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding, and a jade appeared in his hand. This was something Shen Gonghu had left. It was a detailed star map of the southern domain of the Alheaven star system. There were detailed introductions inside, so Wang Lin wouldn't get lost as long as he had this. The place before him was considered the wilderness of the southern domain. Most of the planets here were deserted without anything special about them. Powerful cultivators seldomly came here. However, there were mortals living on these planets along with some low-rank cultivation families. In 20 years of time, I need to prepare for the trip to the Thunder Celestial Realm. Also, some of my spells need some adjustments. Many of my spells don't conform with the 3rd step I saw. If I continue using them, the path I walk will be wrong. In particular, the resentful spirits needed for my underworld river need to be quickly collected. Also, it is about time I have my own cultivation planet in the Alheaven star system. As Wang Lin pondered, his eyes lit up. Before him was a wasted planet. It was filled with vitality, so it meant that there were a lot of mortals living there. The reason he chose this place was because it was very similar to planet Suzaku. He was somewhat homesick. Wang Lin jumped off the Thunder Beast. After he did so, it let out a pitiful cry and helplessly turned into the war chariot before entering Wang Lin's bag. Just as he was about to charge toward the planet, Wang Lin's expression suddenly changed. Inside his bag, a powerful fluctuation came from inside the celestial sword. This fluctuation contained a powerful aura and ancient sword intent. Damn sword intent, your grandpa Shu had finally conquered you. Henceforth, I am the true sword spirit. I am very badass. Very badass. As usual, 2 chapters at noon, about 10 minutes apart, and 2 more at 8 in the evening, 10 minutes apart. If anything comes up, the other will be informed. Longing for the like button for the video. Chapter 72, Seizing Foundation. The middle-aged man looked around for a bit, then muttered, "This place is indeed strange." 2 years ago, there was a sudden burst of spiritual energy which attracted these beasts. Since then, waves of spiritual energy have been sent out from around here. That is what attracts the beasts. The youth's eyes suddenly lit up. He said, "Elder Marshal brother, could there be a treasure here?" The middle chuckled and said, "There were some elders that also thought so, but after searching for a while they determined that the release of spiritual energy was a natural occurrence." The youth sighed in disappointment and said, "That is unfortunate. If only there really was a treasure here." The middle-aged man let out a laugh and said, "It's getting late. I'll catch a strong crystal spirit beast, then we can go back." With that, the middle-aged man spread out his divine sense and found 7 to 8 crystal spirit beasts and began to observe them. Just at that moment, all of the beasts that were cultivating suddenly started to move, as if something startled them. Some even began to growl. Gradually, the number of growls began to increase, until all of the beasts were roaring. Their roars were directed at a vegetation-filled cliff. The middle-aged man was stunned. Before he was able to call his fellow disciples to quickly leave the area, a huge divine sense swept past them. The middle-aged man's face changed greatly. Even with his 12th layer cultivation level, he felt completely powerless under this divine sense. The girl named Shu S, who was next to the middle-aged man, face turned pale. The flying sword under her feet flashed and fell to the ground. The girl and the youth hugging her also fell to the ground. The flying sword under the middle-aged man also faltered, and he had to use all of his power to maintain flight. He took a step and grabbed the 2 falling people before landing on the ground. Just this simple action caused him to be drenched in sweat. After he landed, he quickly clasped his hands and said, "Junior is Xuan Dao Secte's disciple, Li Hai. I didn't know Senior was cultivating here. Please forgive us." The girl named Shu also noticed that divine sense. It caused her to lose control of her flying sword. She respectfully said, "Junior is Xuan Dao Secte's disciple Shu Fei." The youth was so scared that there wasn't any trace of blood on his face. He stood there, clenching the girl's clothes, not daring to speak. All of the beasts also felt chills when the divine sense spread across them. All of them revealed looks of shock and fear. They lied on the ground, not daring to move. Xuan Dao Sect's very old voice echoed from the surroundings. It was hard to tell whether the voice was happy or angry. The middle-aged man groaned. If he was by himself, he could have just escaped when he found that something was off, but now, with a junior sister and a little junior brother here, if he were to run away, then their masters would definitely hold him accountable. He could only hope that, because the Xuan Dao sect was so close, and that they hadn't done anything to offend the senior yet, the senior will not do anything. After the senior said that phrase, he began to think. The middle-aged man clenched his teeth and decided that his life was more important. If the senior started to act with killing intent, then he was going to save himself first. Shu Fei's forehead was covered in beads of sweat. She got very nervous when she saw her R&D elder brother, who was always calm, scared pale. She hesitated for a while, then said, "Senior, Junior hasn't done anything to offend you." "You." Before she could finish speaking, the old voice let out a surprised sound and said, "You said your name is Shu?" The girl was stunned. She respectfully answered, "Disciple is named Shu." The voice became silent again. After a long time, the voice let out a sigh and said, "You can leave." With that, there was a sudden change in the sky, as if there was an invisible hand that waved in the air. The 3 were pushed far away by an unstoppable wind. The middle-aged man felt even more horrified. Just at that moment, he felt like his entire body was imprisoned. If this senior wanted to kill him, he wouldn't even be able to react. Out of fear, he immediately grabbed his junior brother and sister and rushed away as fast as possible without a word when the restricting force around them was gone. He was afraid that the senior would change their mind, so he used all of his strength to get away. After the 3 left, the cliff covered with vegetation started to shake until all of the vegetation fell off, revealing a dark cave. A young male with hair all the way to his waist slowly walked out. His face was white and his eyes sparkled. The moment he walked out of the cave, all of the wild beasts started to whine. Their eyes begged for mercy. The long-haired youth was about 20 years old. His gaze was cold as he looked at all of the beasts. He remained silent as he looked toward the Hengyu mountain with regret in his heart. He was Wang Lin, who had been in closed-door cultivation for 4 years. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He muttered to himself, "I have reached the peak of QI condensation a long time ago, but reaching foundation building is simply too hard. I have already tried it many times, but am still unable to break through. Situ, will the method you mentioned really help me reach foundation building faster?" "Yes. Have you decided to use my method?" Situnan let out a proud smile. "I told you before, while reaching the foundation building stage is hard, if you use my method, it will succeed for sure." A cold light flashed through Wang Lin's eyes. He said, "But I can't even beat someone at the foundation building stage. How could I catch one alive?" Situ Nan let out a laugh and said, "You can rest assured, because you have me here. This time, in order to help you reach foundation building, I'll take another risk and use my technique again. As long as you can find me an opening, I can help you restrain the person. You better find someone who has just reached foundation building so I won't have to waste too much essence." Wang Lin pondered for a while, then let out a sigh. He wryly smiled. "Situ, this foundation stealing is very vicious. Whoever I steal from will surely die, so let us wait and see first." Situ Nan said, with discontent, I have told you countless times that, in the world of cultivation, the strong prey on the weak. Killing others for your own benefit is completely normal. With your current merciful nature, how long will it take you reach spirit transformation? If you don't want to use my method, you can also go look for wood element. If you can fill the heaven-defying bead with wood element, the upgrade should give you enough spiritual energy to reach foundation building. If you want to do either of those, and don't have a nascent soul cultivator to help you, don't even think about reaching foundation building. Wang Lin pondered for a while, then said, "I wonder how other people reach foundation building." Situ Nan grunted, and said, "It's simple. If they have a sect, then a nascent soul cultivator uses their own cultivation to help the disciple reach foundation building. If I still had my body, I could do the same and help you. In my home country, the status of a nascent soul cultivator is like that of a core formation cultivator here. Although there aren't too many, there are enough to help the disciples to reach foundation building." Mid-month already, brothers. Do you have likes for the VIDE already? Don't hold back wishing for those likes. Chapter 730, My Cultivation Planet. Wang Lin's expression was strange as he looked down at his bag of holding. The bag also exuded a powerful sword intent along with an arrogant aura that was about to charge out. "Little Lindsay, you still not letting your lord Shu out." Let me tell you, I am badass now." Shu Liguo's overbearing voice came from the bag. The bag of holding trembled violently as if a force from ancient time was about to charge out. Just at the moment when this force reached a peak, Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he viciously hit the bag of holding. Shu Liguo's overbearing voice immediately weakened. Even the dense sword intent was suppressed and was unable to spread out. "Oh, little Lindsay, you still don't understand the situation. This lord don't blame you. This lord is not the little Shu Liguo I was before. This lord had inherited the ancient sword intent." Before he finished speaking, Wang Lin's hand formed a seal and pointed at the bag. This time, Shu Liguo's voice suddenly stopped. Wang Lin frowned and calmly said, "Noisy." His body charged directly toward the wasted planet before him. From far away, this planet was covered in blue. It seemed oceans occupied most of its surface. The vitality coming from it was very strong. Clearly, there were a lot of mortals living there. Wang Lin's speed was very fast. He was like a meteor as he charged toward the planet. Because he was moving too fast, an elliptical light cone appeared around him. He pierced through space as he rushed into the planet. The atmosphere of this planet was thin, and Wang Lin charged directly through it. When he arrived in the sky above the planet and looked down, he revealed a trace of confusion. This place was far too similar to planet Suzaku. It wasn't a similarity in appearance, but the feeling and the aura. Wang Lin's divine sense spread out and scanned the planet. There were cultivators here, but the most powerful cultivator was only at the nascent soul stage. There wasn't even a single soul formation cultivator. He pondered for a bit. He decided to not look for a secret place, but chose the highest mountain on the planet. Once he located the mountain, he flew there directly. Fangyun Peak was the highest peak on planet Qingling. Although the spiritual energy here was thin, it had a spectacular view. One could easily see the end of the world from the peak. It was also covered in mist, making it look like a celestial mountain. There were many cultivation families on planet Qingling. Their numbers were on par with the amount of mortal nations on this densely populated planet. Almost every mortal country had at least one or two cultivation families. This strange phenomenon had to do with the fact that this planet didn't have enough spiritual energy and had no soul formation cultivators. This Hangyun Peak belonged to the Zhang family, who had the most nascent soul cultivators. Normally, the nascent soul cultivators in the Zhang family, whose lifespans were almost up, would come here and enter closed-door cultivation to attempt to comprehend the heavens. Over time, the originally beautiful peak became bare for some unknown reason. Even the wind that came from the mountain became cold. On this day, the Zhang family member that had been stuck at the nascent soul stage the longest, the family head, Zhang Xinhai, walked out from the mountain with a body filled with death aura. Every cultivator whose life was about to end would go through this cycle. They would sit at the top of the Hengyun Peak and stare at the sky as their life slowly ran out. He could feel that his body was slowly weakening. His steps were slow and difficult as he walked toward the peak. At the top of the Hengyun Peak, there was a large, stone platform. Just as Zhang Xinhai reached the peak, his eyes immediately narrowed. He looked at the person on the platform with his muddy gaze. This was a youth wearing white and his black hair flowed in the wind. His clothes were also being blown by the wind and were making flapping sounds. In Zhang Xinhai's eyes, it was as if this person doesn't exist. He couldn't detect anyone there with his divine sense, yet he could clearly see the person with his eyes. This strong contrast made it so that he couldn't help but take a few steps back. There was a trace of shock in his calm expression. The black-haired youth didn't turn around. He looked at the sunset over the horizon and calmly said, "This place is not bad." This simple sentence had no power within it, but when it landed in Zhang Xinhai's ears, it suddenly filled his frail body with vigor. It also suppressed his identity as the powerful head of the Zhang family. He subconsciously lowered his head, and his eyes filled up with terror. This was the effect of an aura. This was something he knew about. When he met even mortal emperors, they would lower their heads due to his own aura. At this moment, this was happening to him. The only explanation was that he was like a mortal to this youth. Unfortunately, such a mountain was used by you guys as a graveyard. The black-haired youth shook his head and waved his right hand. The mountain immediately trembled, and the death aura that had gathered here for countless years immediately vanished without a trace. The entire mountain seemed to gain new life, like when someone who had a long-term illness suddenly recovered. The mountain recovered immediately and seemed to be filled with life. Zhang Xinhai was startled as he stared at the scene before him and only recovered after a while. His face was filled with excitement. Without any hesitation, he knelt on the ground and respectfully said, "Junior Zhang Xianhai greets Senior. If Senior likes this Hengyun Peak, then Junior will immediately gift it to you." Hengyun Peak, this black-haired youth, was Wang Lin. He turned around, looked at Zhang Xinhai, and slowly said, "Your lifespan is almost at its end. It would be difficult to change that, even with my power." Zhang Xinhai let out a bitter smile and respectfully said, "Senior misunderstood me. Junior understands the will of heavens and does not seek help. To be able to meet a powerful cultivator like Senior before dying leaves Junior with no regrets. Not to mention this mountain. I'll even gift Senior this planet, Qingling, if Senior wants it." Wang Lin turned around and his right hand sent a ray of spiritual energy to the spot between Zhang Xinhai's brows. He gently said, "I can change your life, but burning your own spiritual energy to extend your life by 10 years is something I can do." When he sent out that ray of spiritual energy, Wang Lin let out a sigh. This spell was something he could just barely use after seeing the third step. If he knew about this before, then Li Muan wouldn't be taking shelter inside the heaven-defying bead. When the spell landed between Zhang Xinhai's eyebrows, his body trembled, and he immediately felt vitality coming from the spiritual energy in his body. His face became red as he took a deep breath. He looked at Wang Lin and respectfully said, "Thank you, Senior. If Senior has any commands, Junior will do his best to carry them out." Someone who had become the Zhang family's head was not stupid. No one in this world would do this for nothing. When he heard Wang Lin say that this mountain was good, he immediately gifted the mountain without any hesitation. For someone with Wang Lin's kind of cultivation to say that, it was already very merciful. Those that had bad tempers would just occupy it directly. If they became unhappy, it would be too easy for them to slaughter a few small cultivation families like theirs. Zhang Xinhai guessed that this person was not from planet Qingling and must have come from outside. To be able to step into space meant that this person was at least at the soul transformation stage or above. Wang Lin calmly looked at Zhang Xinhai and calmly said, "I'll give you 10 years of time to collect as much resentment from the mortal world as possible. The more the better. If I am pleased with your result, then as long as this planet has me, your Zhang family will never be extinguished. Go now." Wang Lin waved his big sleeves. Zhang Xinhai only felt a gust of wind. Before him was only thick fog and wind filled his ears. When he regained his vision, he was already at the foot of the mountain. The scene from before felt like a dream to him. He touched the spot between his eyebrows, felt the dense vitality in his body, and took a deep breath. His eyes were filled with excitement as he bowed toward the mountain and quickly left. I must do my best to complete Senior S request. Zhang Xinhai turned into a ray of light as he charged toward the Zhang family's home. After sending away Zhang Xinhai, Wang Lin pondered a bit before taking out the 1 billion soul flag. He gently stabbed the 30-foot-tall flag into the mountain. The flag was opened by the wind and the soul fragments flew out, surrounding the entire peak. The 3 primary souls came out and surrounded the area. The entire mountain was immediately covered by a dense, black fog. Wang Lin waved his right hand backwards, and a powerful force shot out toward the mountain. There were sounds of explosions as a large cave appeared in the mountain. The door to the cave was at the top of the mountain, surrounded by rocks. It looked very majestic. Wang Lin's right finger pointed out, and a celestial spell shot out and imprinted on the door. The presence of the celestial spell created a powerful pressure. After doing all of this, Wang Lin sat down, and his divine sense spread across planet Qingling once more. This time he wasn't searching, he was sending out a message. From today onward, this is my cultivation planet. The area 5,000 kilometers around Hangyun Peak is a forbidden zone. Any trespasser will not be shown mercy. Wang Lin's divine sense was like thunder as it echoed across the planet. His voice entered the ears of every cultivator, causing their expressions to change greatly. However, not a single one of them dared to resist. A spell that could spread across the entire planet shocked their hearts, and also made them feel like it was something inconceivable. From this day onward, planet Qingling had an owner, and that owner was Wang Lin. Wang Lin was the peak existence on planet Qingling. He was just like the blood ancestor, who had the right to control life and death on the blood planet, and also like the Alsair's supreme identity on planet Tianyun. Mid-month and it's been forgotten, hoping for the like button for the video, tears start to flow. Is there still time? Chapter 731, a tool for understanding the karma domain. 5 years passed by in a flash. All of the cultivators on planet Qingling, no matter what cultivation level, were busy during these 5 years. Zhang Xinhai considered for a long time and decided to not conceal Wang Lin's request. He spread Wang Lin's request so every cultivation family knew of it. However, the Zhang family gained the identity of Wang Lin's messengers. During these 5 years of time, these cultivators traveled among the mortals and constantly collected their resentment. This aura existed on almost every mortal. The only difference was the amount. There were simply too many mortals on planet Qingling. In 5 years of time, less than 40% was collected. Seeing that half the time had passed, Zhang Xinhai became anxious. However, right now was already the fastest they could go. Even he himself had gone out to collect from the mortal world. Everyone in the family that had at least reached the 5th layer of QI condensation were sent out. During these 5 years of time, Wang Lin sat on top of the mountain refining his treasures. What he refined was the mountain and river screen inside his origin soul. It was seriously damaged. Inside Wang Lin's origin soul, thunder was fused into it to help repair it. In addition, there was the celestial mountain. Due to the crack, soul extraction had become unstable. Wang Lin used his origin soul as energy to slowly refine and repair it. As for the crown fused with red butterfly's blue rose, Wang Lin had studied it for a long time, but was unable to see through it. These 3 treasures were things he had just obtained. While refining them, Wang Lin took some time and combined them with what he saw from the path to the 3rd step. He took out some ordinary magical treasures from his bag. One was the Soul Lasher. This whip had followed Wang Lin for a long time, and its power had obvious advantages and disadvantages. Before, Wang Lin didn't see it as important, but right now he cared about it a lot. Wang Lin looked at the Soul Lasher in his hand and muttered, "Out of all my treasures, in terms of intelligence, it can compare to the Celestial Sword or the Half-Moon Blade. In terms of defense, it can compare to the 1 billion soul flag or the mountain and river screen. In terms of abilities, it can compare to the Celestial Mountain or the God-slaying war chariot. But this is the only treasure that contains the aura of the 3rd step I saw. This thing is indeed very strange." This whip looked very normal, but the heavenly ghost almost lost its wit when it saw this whip. It was as if it recognized it. Extracting origin souls is in line with the source of Tao. It can also be considered karma, with the body being karmic cause and origin soul being karmic effect. This is a treasure that was refined on the latter part of the karma Tao. Wang Lin's eyes shined as he pondered. His domain had gradually transformed from the life and death domain to the karma domain. This domain was simply too large. Wang Lin had only touched the tip of the iceberg, but he could already feel how majestic it was. My current comprehension of the karma domain isn't enough to create something real like the underworld river. However, after seeing the path to the third step, I gained some understanding. As Wang Lin's right hand rubbed the soul lasher, his eyes shined brighter and brighter. He thought of a way to use the power of materialized karma domain before he could actually make it materialize. This was to make sure that he was adequately prepared for this trip to the Thunder Celestial Realm. Using the soul lasher to help condense the karma domain should work. As Wang Lin pondered, he made a decision. If it was someone else, they would be afraid and would hesitate for a long time and would ultimately be unable to make a decision. This was because they didn't know if this choice was correct or whether it would interfere with comprehending their existence. However, Wang Lin was different, as he had clearly seen the path ahead. He knew that at most this would affect his domain a bit, but it wouldn't be anything big. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he picked up the soul lasher. I'll make you the implementation of my domain. Wang Lin's eyes released a strange light and he placed the whip in his lap. He then closed his eyes and began to carefully refine it. His mind had to be connected to the treasure so that the domain could slowly enter it. Time often passed without leaving a trace. Spring passed and autumn came. In a flash, another 3 years went by. Wang Lin had lived on this planet Qingling for 8 years. During these 8 years, he had never left the mountain. In fact, aside from Xianxia, no other cultivator on the planet had seen him. However, the owner of planet Qingling, the ancestor of planet Qingling, began to weigh heavier and heavier in the cultivators' hearts. In particular, that thick black fog surrounding the mountain had caused many cultivators' hearts to turn cold. However, there were some cultivators who had cultivated stupidity. They would charge in to provoke might of this so-called master of planet Qingling. All of them were immediately devoured by the black fog as soon as they rushed in. The only thing that remained were the mournful screams that echoed across the world as if they were warning the cultivators to not enter. As for mortals, they weren't so troublesome. When they saw the black fog, they knew that it was filled with danger, so none of them entered this place. If they entered because they were lost, Wang Lin wouldn't commit pointless murder. The soul flag contained Wang Lin's will. These mortals would go into a coma and would be sent to the edge of the region. During these 3 years, Wang Lin focused on refining his treasures. The only noisy thing was Shu Liguo. He had somehow broken the seal that Wang Lin placed on the bag of holding. Although he still wasn't able to come out, he always clamored non-stop. On this day, the soul lasher in Wang Lin's lap had some karma domain infused into it. This made it easier to control than with divine sense. At the same time, with the fusion of the latter part of the karma domain, the soul lasher was even more powerful. However, at this moment, the strange voice appeared once more. Little Lin, do you dare to let out your grandpa Shu? I am powerful now, so you don't dare to release me anymore. Rest assured, this old man will not act against you. I have thought about it, and from now on you will follow me. Our identities will change, and I'll be the master. Shu Liguo's arrogant voice was extremely overbearing. Wang Ling frowned. If it wasn't for the fact that he knew that he was short on time to deal with Shu Liguo, he would have already taught Shu Liguo a lesson. Not only did Shu Liguo not understand this, he had grown even more presumptuous. Wang Lin's eyes became cold. He slapped his bag of holding and coldly said, "Get out here!" "Oh, dare to talk like that to your grandpa Shu? Well, Ling, you don't seem to understand the situation. I'm no longer the old Shu Liguo." Shu Liguo's voice came out and a black mist came out with him. This black mist was filled with sword energy and immediately charged out. In midair, the mist formed Shu Liguo's appearance. Just as he appeared, he immediately laughed loudly and roared, "Even I, Shu Liguo, will have my day. The heavens aren't blind. I'll finally be able to raise my head up high." Wang Lin coldly looked at Shu Liguo and didn't speak. Shu Liguo finished speaking and looked at Wang Lin, revealing a fierce gaze. At this moment, He returned to his arrogant appearance. His whole body shrank and suddenly formed a large sword in mid-air. This sword looked exactly like the celestial sword. As it charged, a powerful sword energy shot out. This sword energy also contained an ancient sword intent. It was extremely shocking. He charged straight at Wang Lin as if he could break through the void and closed in an instant. Wang Lin's eyes were still cold. When Shu Liguo closed in, Wang Lin didn't move, but the soul lasher on his lap moved and flew into the air. A mysterious aura spread out and immediately surrounded a 1,000-foot area. This aura contained an unimaginable force that made it seem as if this 1,000-foot area was separated from the outside and was filled with a majesty powerful enough to make someone collapse. Shu Liguo felt it most clearly. He exclaimed, and the big sword form became unstable. However, the big sword suddenly released even more sword energy. He was obviously going to resist by force. At this moment, Wang Lin's voice slowly echoed. It is difficult for the things in this world to escape karma. There is no place without karmic cause. And karmic effect is everywhere. The soul lasher flickered and created an explosion as if it had opened the doors of fate. The soul lasher connected end to end, forming a circle. Shu Liguo's large sword involuntarily fell into the circle and quickly disintegrated. Karmic effect is the source of all karmic cause. Wang Lin's voice sounded again. The disintegration of the large sword happened in almost an instant, and it reverted back into the black fog. Shu Liguo's face appeared in the black fog. His face was filled with terror, and his eyes were filled with fear. Master, I was wrong. Little Shu was wrong, really wrong this time. Spare me once, please spare me this time. Shu Liguo immediately began to plead. His voice was extremely miserable. Wang Lin's eyes were cold as he looked at Shu Liguo. Shu Liguo's black mist was rapidly disintegrating inside the circle as Wang Lin calmly said, "You obtained the ancient sword intent because of me, so the fruit of that also belongs to me." Shu Liguo was shocked to find that the black fog that formed his body started dissipating even faster. A sense of crisis immediately emerged from him, causing him to lose his wit. He immediately begged, "Master, I know I was wrong, and I will never dare to rebel again. Besides, it was you who turned me into a devil. If you hadn't, I wouldn't be here today. Isn't that right, Master? Isn't that karma?" Shu Liguo was very anxious as he spoke. He could feel that he was about to completely disintegrate. The regret in his heart had already filled his body. I should have never provoked this fiend. Over these countless years I have never succeeded once. Shu Liguo, how could your memory be this bad? This old Wang devil is more of a devil than me. Shu Liguo wished he could give himself a slap. Wang Lin revealed a faint smile and said, "That is your karma, not mine." Mid-month and the hope for likes on the video has slipped by 2 days already? Tears streaming. Is there any hope left? Chapter 732 reaching the peak in Shu Liguo's evil interests. The circle formed by the soul lasher loosened. It then turned into a ray of light and disappeared. After the domain fused with it, it no longer had a physical form. It became like one's domain, something that couldn't be seen but could still be felt. Shu Liguo, who almost collapsed, immediately backed up a few steps. The terror in his eyes was still very strong. He had lost all the arrogance from before and his face was filled with flattery. He quickly said, "Master's spell is indeed fierce. In fact, little Shu only did this in order to let Master get more practice. In fact, little Xu's loyalty to Master is sky high without a thought of rebellion." Wang Lin looked at Shu Liguo and calmly said, "Since you can come out, there is no need to go back into the bag of holding. You can stay within 5,000 kilometers of this mountain. Go comprehend your ancient sword intent." Shu Liguo was startled. He didn't expect this old field to be this easygoing. His eyes turned and quickly said, "Master, Shu Liguo is reluctant to leave you. I only feel steadfast when I'm near you." As he spoke, he carefully looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression remained the same, and he nodded. "Since that is the case, then stay here." Shu Liguo revealed a smile, but his heart felt bitter. Would this fiend really let me roam freely within 5,000 kilometers? This isn't right. This doesn't match this fiend's personality. There must be some trick. It is lucky that I, Shu Liguo, am smart, or else I might be suffered more. Shu Liguo felt very proud as he thought about this. He quickly took form and sat down. After a while, he was a bit disturbed. He would occasionally look at Wang Lin to try to find some clues. Wang Lin stopped paying attention to Shu Liguo and slapped his bag of holding. The mosquito and the thunder toad immediately appeared. The mosquito lied comfortably on the thunder toad's back. After it appeared, it let out a cry toward Wang Lin, but it remained laying on the thunder toad's back, as if it wasn't willing to leave no matter what. After they appeared, the other mosquito beasts followed them. Although they were still considered to be in their larvae state and not grown up yet, they all still appeared very ferocious. As for the thunder toad, it seemed to be used to the despicable mosquito beast on its back. After it appeared, its belly expanded, and it found a location on the side and seemed to have gone to sleep. Shortly after, the god-slaying war chariot appeared, and turned into the thunder beast. As soon as it appeared, it saw the thunder toad and began to roar. Thunder Toad's originally lazy appearance suddenly disappeared. Its eyes were wide open, and it stared at the thunder beast with its belly expanding. The mosquito beast was also full of spirit as it looked at the thunder beast with interest. Shu Liguo was on the side, and his eyes opened wide. He carefully looked at the thunder beast and thought, "Master is really master. It hasn't been long, but now there is another dumb beast. Fight, it's best if you all fight. Then you will all know that I have been with Master the longest." However, I have to say that Master really does have luck with beasts. I, old Shu, am very humble and only have luck with beauties. Shu Liguo's expression entered a trance as he thought about the little beauty in the demon spirit land. Alas, since ancient times, sentiments lead to regret. This is a truth that old fiend Wang can understand. Shu Liguo felt quiet, regretful. He looked at the thunder beast, thunder toad, and mosquitoes before looking at Wang Lin. He felt a sense of loneliness and pride. The refining of treasures continued, but at this time, this was not the focus as time was limited. Wang Lin decided to use what he saw of the third step and adjust his spells. He began to ponder. Among the spells he controlled, the most powerful spell he could use was the Heavenly Chop. However, before he broke through the first step of cultivation and entered the illusory yin stage, it would consume his precious origin energy. After that was the Stop spell. This spell wasn't any weaker than the Heavenly Chop. If used at the right moment, it would play a decisive role. Aside from those three spells, there were the Finger of Death, Demonic Finger, and Underworld Finger. There were also the three abilities of the Underworld River. Dao forms Underworld River, Formation of River Soul, and Power of the Underworld River. What he needed to adjust were the three fingers. If he continued to use them, then it would harm him greatly on his path toward the third step. These three spells were not complete and would cause his body harm. As for why they would be harmful to his path to the third step, Wang Lin didn't know, but he had a feeling. As he pondered, he flicked his finger and used all three spells to gain some insight. The spells came out one after another. He gradually increased the speed of the spells and kept casting them one after the other. Wang Lin frowned as he used the vague feeling in his mind to look for clues and gradually improve the spells. This process was extremely tiresome, so it didn't take long before he felt tired. After resting for a short while, Wang Lin began once more. The wheel of time moved once more and 2 more years passed. During these 2 years, Wang Lin spent most of his time focusing on refining the spells. However, in the end, he wasn't able to achieve satisfactory results. Wang Lin understood that he was too impatient. However, he didn't give up and did his best to slowly improve his spells. If someone at the second step saw this, they would be shocked. This kind of improvement was the same as deducing the original celestial spell from the current spell. Not to mention for him, this was something very difficult for even people like the All-Seer. During the 2 years of time, the Thunder Toad and Thunder Beast were very hostile to each other, but they didn't fight. The Thunder Toad was too weak, and the Thunder Beast felt disdain, even though it felt that the Thunder Toad could potentially pose a threat in the future. As for the Mosquito Beast, its interest shifted from the Thunder Toad to the Thunder Beast. It flew around the Thunder Beast as if it wanted to lie on the Thunder Beast's back. However, every time it tired, it wasn't successful, but that only made it more interested. Shu Liguo felt disdain toward all of this. As time passed, he noticed that Wang Lin had completely forgotten about them. After considering it carefully, he went 1,000 feet away from Wang Lin and cheerfully roamed the mountain. However, he did remember Wang Lin's words and didn't dare to go more than 5,000 kilometers from here. He gradually became bored as there wasn't a single person within the kilometer area. People tend to stay far away from this area, which made Shu Liguo very depressed. About 1.5 years ago, there were some cultivators outside that were originally afraid to come in. He ended up using spells to trick them into entering. After playing around with them, he released them. However, from then onward, no more cultivators dared to come. Even many years later, whenever those cultivators thought about what had happened to them, their hearts would turn colder. On this day, he was extremely bored while flying around the area, hoping for some mortals to enter. He suddenly shivered, and an excitement that he hadn't felt for a long time immediately filled his body. Shu Liguo's eyes glowed as he stared at the fog and began shouting excitedly. Someone finally came. Zhang Xinhai appeared outside the fog with a tired face, and his body was filled with death aura. Beside him was a very tense middle-aged man. This person was wearing black robes, and his cultivation level was also at the peak of the nascent soul stage. The middle-aged man looked rather warily at the black fog in the distance and whispered, "Dad, do we really have to go?" Zhang Xinhai said, in a serious tone, "Of course we have to. Your father's lifespan is about to be over. Aside from completing Senior's requests, this trip is to also introduce you to Senior as my successor. Once I die, you will replace me and act as the messenger for Senior to ensure the existence of our Zhang family forever." The middle-aged man hesitated and said, "But Dad, I heard from some friends that this Senior has some quirks more than a year ago. A few friends were before he could finish." Zhang Xinhai stared at him, and the middle-aged man immediately shut up. Shu Liguo was like a ghost as he quickly approached the area. He was hiding in the black fog, so the Zhang father and son didn't notice him. Shu Liguo's face was filled with excitement as he looked at the father and son and muttered, Yes, that old one is dying and won't be able to withstand me playing around. Your grandpa Shu will be nice and let your body go. As for the little one..." Hey, the excitement in Shu Liguo's eyes became stronger and stronger as he looked at the middle-aged man from the fog. There was even a trace of depravity in his eyes. He let out a dry cough and spoke in an upright tone, "Who is it? State your name." Zhang Xinhai took a deep breath. He stopped 5,000 kilometers away from the mountain and didn't enter. Instead, he clasped his hands and respectfully said, "Junior Zhang Xinhai has completed Senior's request and requests to meet Senior." His voice was hoarse as it slowly entered the black fog. Shu Liguo's eyes turned and he said, "The old one can come in. I'll take you to meet my master." Zhang Xinhai was startled and hesitated for a bit before stepping into the black fog. The moment he entered, he felt a wind wrap around him and his body was rapidly sent forward. Shortly after he arrived at the peak and the wind dissipated, he immediately saw Wang Lin and respectfully said, "Senior Junior didn't disappoint you," and gathered all the resentment on planet Qingling. As he spoke, he took out the jades, 1,000 in total. He placed them all on the ground and respectfully took a few steps back. After Shu Liguo sent away Zhang Xinhai, he excitedly returned back to the edge of the fog. He looked at the middle-aged man outside and said, "Little brat, come in, don't be afraid. Your grandpa Shu will give you some benefits." When he saw that the middle-aged man was still hesitating, he immediately shouted, "Why haven't you come in?" The middle-aged man clenched his teeth and stepped into the black fog. Wang Lin opened his eyes and scanned the jades. He immediately felt the resentment inside them. There was an alarming amount of resentment, as if there was a storm of resentful aura. Wang Lin slowly said, "Very good. The person you brought will be my messenger outside of Hangyun Peak in the future." After pondering for a bit, he took out a pill and threw it at Zhang Xinhai. "Give it to your son. If he is gifted enough, perhaps he can rely on the aura inside the pill and gain a slightly higher chance to reach the soul formation stage." Zhang Xinhai's face was filled with ecstasy. He quick took the pill and put it away like a treasure. He emotionally said, "Thank you, Senior." Wang Lin commanded, "This resentment is an illusionary thing, and it will regenerate. In the future, your Zhang family will be in charge of collecting it every few years." Then he took out a few red seeds and gave them to Zhang Xinhai. "These are called celestial ascension fruits. Get people to plant them and speed up their growth with spiritual energy. Over the next 10 years, plant as many as possible." Zhang Xinhai quickly nodded. Wang Lin had gotten those seeds from Qianquizi's bag of holding. Zhang Xinhai and his son left the Hangyun Peak. However, the son seemed to be in a trance, giving off a strange expression and even a trace of savoring. As for Shu Liguo, he was grounded by Wang Lin. If it wasn't T for the fact that what Shu Liguo did wasn't T too bad, Wang Lin would V directly refine Shu Liguo. After being grounded to be within 1,000 feet of Wang Lin, Shu Liguo had an expression like he was wronged. He no longer dared to sneak out. All he did was look into the distance all day and sigh in his heart. I was just taking over their physical bodies and then enjoying the feeling of having flesh. How big of a thing can it be, alas? Wang Lin didn't have time to pay attention to Shu Liguo. After grounding Shu Liguo, he once again focused on perfecting his spells. During that time, he slowly absorbed the resentment into his underworld river. After absorbing the resentment, the underworld river was different from before. After absorbing the resentment, the soul of the underworld river gradually took shape. Time quickly passed. The improvement of the spells cost Wang Lin too much energy. Although he still wasn't successful, the constant improvement allowed him to continue comprehending the direction of the third step, so Wang Lin's domain was gradually becoming stronger. Finally, on his 18th year on planet Qingling, his life and death domain reached completion without any flaws. This meant that once he had enough celestial spiritual energy, he would truly be at the peak of the first step. Wang Lin still had some celestial jades, but he didn't know if he had enough. Even if it wasn't enough, Wang Lin could still drink the celestial liquid. This time, he had to reach the peak of the late stage of ascendant and reach the peak of the first step of cultivation. The first step of cultivation, Wang Lin's eyes shined brightly. When I reached the ascendant stage, ancient demon Bei Luo said that heaven-defying cultivators would attract divine retribution. I wonder if divine retribution will arrive once more when I break through the first step and enter the illusory yin stage. Wang Lin looked up at the sky and his eyes turned cold. It's the middle of the month. Wishing Leo's video gets plenty of likes. Remember to like and share Leo's video, okay? And don't forget to leave your thoughts about the video. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 733, Stealing Furnace. A large formation was built above the vast desert on the northwestern side of planet Qingling with celestial jades. Wang Lin sat down in the center of the formation and cultivated. Every time he took a breath, he would absorb a large amount of celestial spiritual energy into his body. This repeated again and again. The celestial spiritual energy in his body was slowly condensing. The peak of the late stage of ascendant was not something unattainable for cultivators, but it was still a step only a few could take. The reason was not domain or celestial jades, but origin energy. If the origin energy fused into one's origin soul was insufficient when they reached the ascendant stage, then even if they could reach the ascendant stage, they would never reach the peak. At the same time, even if one gathered enough origin energy but suffered injuries to their origin soul, causing them to lose their precious origin energy that was fused with their origin soul, then they wouldn't be able to reach the peak. It could be said that origin energy was the key to reaching the peak of the first step of cultivation. Adding on the fact that ascendant cultivators couldn't absorb origin energy from the world to recover, it was natural that not many could reach the peak. After Wang Lin cultivated inside the Thunder Lake, he reached the limit of origin energy his origin soul could hold and reached the most basic requirement. As his domain was refined, it helped drive his cultivation. He slowly stepped toward peak of the late stage of ascendant as he absorbed celestial spiritual energy. However, the amount of celestial spiritual energy required to reach the peak of first step was a terrifying amount. After absorbing for a year, Wang Lin used up all of the celestial jades. He then took out the celestial liquid and drank it without any hesitation. The celestial liquid entered his body along with a powerful sense of drunkenness. Wang Lin's body gave off a white mist. This white mist contained the scent of wine and spread across the area. At the same time, the celestial liquid gave off a large amount of celestial spiritual energy inside Wang Lin's body. It was like a powerful force that was rapidly pushing his cultivation toward peak of the late stage of ascendant. To complete with just a thought, and celestial spiritual energy moved along with one's aura. This was the description for the peak of the late stage of ascendant. One's domain was complete without a single flaw and a firm Tao heart. The body was filled with celestial spiritual energy, and it felt like even One's aura was filled with celestial spiritual energy. Wang Lin reached the peak of the late stage of Ascendant 19 years and 8 months after he arrived on planet Xingling. All the celestial jades within countless kilometers of Wang Lin turned to dust when he broke through. Grass started growing out from the deserted land, and it was now filled with life. Wang Lin slowly opened his eyes, which contained the heavens. After 1,000 years of cultivation, I finally reached completion. Wang Lin let out a breath of relief, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Looking back to those 1,000 years, he was once merely a little person at the Heng Yu sect, but at this moment, he was at the peak of the first step and had even surpassed Zhuke Z. This was something no one on planet Suzaku could have expected. Wang Lin didn't get up, but touched his bag of holding, and a golden celestial brush appeared in his hand. Wang Lin held it in his hand and began drawing before him as if his hands were dancing. His previous limit was 7 strokes. Now he completed 7 strokes in one breath, and then drew one more to complete the 8th stroke. The dazzling light from the runes was enough to take one's mind. The power of 8 strokes is 1 level above 7 strokes. Wang Lin's eyes were peaceful. Right now, he looked more like a scholar than a cultivator. When he put away the brush, the rune disappeared. The divine sense split into the runes, returned to Wang Lin's body. Wang Lin stood up, took a step forward, and disappeared without a trace. Half a month later, a bolt of thunder left planet Qingling and went straight into the sky. Wang Lin sat on the back of the thunder beast with his eyes closed and remained silent. All of the cultivators on planet Qingling raised their heads. Along with the respect in their eyes, they also relaxed a bit. It was as if that invisible pressure gradually disappeared as Wang Lin left. Before leaving, Wang Lin picked all of the celestial ascension fruits that had grown during these 10 years. Also, another wave of resentment had gathered. With this additional resentment, the underworld river soul was showing signs of awakening. Thunder streaked across the stars, and Wang Lin left planet Qinglin after living there for 20 years. This place was his cave. After obtaining a thunder furnace, he would come back here, as entering the thunder celestial realm from here would be safer. As the thunderbolt rushed through space, Wang Lin opened his eyes and began to ponder. If he wanted to go to the thunder celestial realm, he would need a thunder furnace. Without it, there would be no way to enter the thunder celestial realm. Wang Lin naturally knew this. However, the All-Heaven star system was different from the Alliance star system. The furnaces were not randomly dispersed. For some unknown reason, they all appeared together inside the Thunder Celestial Temple. The Thunder Celestial Temple would then assign a set amount to each cultivation family. Now there were only 3 months until the Thunder Celestial Realm would open. This was when all the families would obtain their thunder furnaces. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he made a decision. Since I don't have a thunder furnace, let's just steal one. Wang Lin's right hand lightly patted the Thunder Beast's head. The Thunder Beast let out a roar as if it was enjoying it. In truth, if he searched for Shen Gonghu, he could get one from him. However, Shen Gonghu's cultivation was too powerful. If they met too often, Shen Gonghu might see through him, so unless it was important, Wang Lin didn't want to look for that person. Not every cultivator that entered the Thunder Celestial Realm had entered the 2nd step. After all, there weren't many 2nd step cultivators. Most cultivators were between the soul transformation and ascendant stages. At the southern domain of the All-Heaven star system, with the help of the jade that Shen Gonghu left behind, Wang Lin found a cultivation planet. Wang Lin didn't bother to check the name of the 2 families. Every time the Thunder Celestial Realm opened, the 2 families here would obtain 1 or 2 furnaces. More importantly, neither of the 2 families had someone beyond the peak of the late stage of Ascendant. After arriving on the cultivation planet, Wang Lin scanned it with his divine sense. He found that the 2 heads of the 2 cultivation families weren't there. He drifted among the stars as he closed his eyes and cultivated. Time slowly passed. 1 month before the Thunder Celestial Realm opened, more than 10 rays of light came toward Wang Lin like meteors. Among the 10+ cultivators, one of them was at the illusory yin stage, while the others varied between the ascendant stage and soul transformation stage. They moved very fast but suddenly stopped in the distance as their gazes fell on Wang Lin. The cultivator at the illusory yin stage was an old man who had silver hair and his eyes were shining. There wasn't much origin energy inside his body, and the origin energy that was present wasn't very stable yet. It was obvious that he had just reached the illusory yin stage not long ago. He stepped forward as he carefully looked at Wang Lin, and his eyes revealed a look of uncertainty. The old man asked, "Why has this Lord Messenger come to planet Zhengtan?" Wang Lin opened his eyes and frowned indiscernibly. His eyes were calm as he slowly asked, "Did you all come back from picking the thunder furnaces?" The old man's expression changed, and he said, "That's correct. What does Lord Messenger want?" "Please speak." Wang Lin calmly said, "I need a thunder furnace." The old man looked at Wang Lin for a long time and then laughed. His laughter contained a hint of arrogance. His eyes lit up and he shouted, "During this trip to the Thunder Celestial Temple, I heard some rumors of someone posing as messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple. Originally, I thought it was absurd, but today, after seeing you, this old man has determined that you are a fake." "Oh?" Wang Lin's expression remained neutral as he calmly looked at the old man. The old man sneered. "Which messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple doesn't he have a lot of subordinate families? Obtaining a thunder furnace would be extremely simple. Moreover, I have met all the messengers in the southern domain, but you are extremely unfamiliar. More importantly, all of the messengers are gathered at the Thunder Celestial Temple. Until the Thunder Celestial Realm opens, they won't come out." Wang Lin nodded, and no longer wasted time with this nonsense. The shadow behind him moved, and the Celestial Guard appeared. With one step, it immediately charged out and threw a punch. This punch contained a large amount of sonic booms as it charged toward the old man. The old man's expression changed. He thought that Wang Lin was only at the peak of the late stage of Ascendant. He even thought that the thunder beast under Wang Lin was fake. He never would have expected Wang Lin to have such a puppet. After a cold snort, the old man formed a seal and pointed forward. A black flame suddenly appeared in his hand. With a flick, the flame shot out and split into countless sparks that immediately surrounded the area. His family members had already retreated and were watching from a distance. The celestial puppet didn't mind the sparks at all and let them land on its body. Not only did it not slow down, it moved even faster. The punch whistled through the air, and with a step it arrived before the old man. The punch broke through space and shot toward the old man. The old man's expression changed slightly, and he immediately retreated. At the same time, his hand formed a seal, and a flame shield immediately appeared in front of his body. The Celestial Guard's punch landed on the flame shield, creating a loud explosion. Cracks immediately appeared on the flame shield, and then it collapsed. As the sound echoed, the old man retreated with a pale face. The Celestial Guard was also pushed back several steps. There was a black flame burning its arm and slowly spreading over its body. "I only want a thunder furnace." Wang Lin calmly looked at the old man. The old man stared at Wang Lin. The punch from the puppet shocked him greatly. Unless he used origin spells, it would be impossible for him to defeat the puppet that was similar to his cultivation level. For this person to have such a puppet, he must not be ordinary. Even if he is impersonating a messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple, it has nothing to do with me. It's just if I were to just hand over a thunder furnace, then all of my Jiang family's face will be lost. The old man was in a difficult situation. If Wang Lin had reached the second step, then perhaps the old man would have just handed one over. After all, the family had obtained 3 thunder furnaces, so giving one away as a gift wasn't an issue. However, Wang Lin was only at the peak of the late stage of Ascendant. If he were to just directly surrender one, then he would lose all face. Wang Lin didn't want to deal with this nonsense. Although this person's cultivation level was outside his expectations, the old man had just entered the illusory yin stage and was not stable. With Wang Lin's peak late-stage ascendant cultivation along with his spells and treasures, battling this old man was not difficult. He slapped his bag of holding, and a mountain stone immediately appeared in his hand. The stone immediately became a large mountain. It gave off rich celestial spiritual energy, along with a hint of pressure. Wang Lin's right hand pressed on it, and the mountain immediately trembled. Then an ancient aura gathered below his right hand. When he raised his hand, strands of fog gathered to form a fist-sized cloud of fog. At the moment the old man saw this, his expression changed greatly. Without any hesitation and with horror in his eyes, he exclaimed, "Soul extraction spell. You only at the peak of the first step. How can you use a spell like this?" Wang Lin's gaze was calm as his right hand pushed forward, and the fog immediately flew out with a powerful pressure toward the old man. At the same time, Wang Lin charged out, following closely after the fog. He raised his right hand, and a bolt of thunder gathered in his hand. The roar of thunder suddenly came from the stars, and in a flash, a real bolt of thunder formed in Wang Lin's hand. Right now, Wang Lin was like a celestial that controlled thunder and lightning. With the lightning in hand, his eyes were cold as he walked toward the old man. The old man's expression changed greatly, and he retreated once more. Both of his hands formed a seal and pointed between his eyebrows. The spot between his eyebrows began to move strangely, and a gap immediately formed as if there was a third eye. His third eye became crimson as the blood in his whole body rapidly circulated and seemed to have condensed on his face. The origin energy in his body also moved like crazy, and gathered between his eyebrows along with his blood. Doing all of this made him feel as if he was being torn apart. The moment the large amount of pain filled his body, a third eye slowly opened between his brows. The old man let out a roar as he stared at Wang Lin. Then both of his hands formed a seal and pointed at the 2 pressure points below his ears. In an instant, the third eye between his eyebrows suddenly opened. A red light came from inside it and spread out like a fan. Wang Lin's expression changed. This person's spell was simply too strange, so he decided to slow down a bit. At this moment, the mountain soul closed in, and at the same time, the third eye opened. Within the red light, the mountain soul began to rapidly disintegrate. This caused Wang Lin's eyes to narrow, and he threw the bolt of thunder in his hand without any hesitation. The bolt of thunder charged straight at the old man. The old man was unable to use the origin spell at its full power, because he had just reached the illusory yin stage 2 years ago and was lacking in origin energy. Due to this, the red light from the third eye only lasted 3 breaths of time before he could no longer bear it. The third eye automatically closed and dissipated. As the lightning and the mountain soul that wasn't completely disintegrated closed in, the old man clenched his teeth. He then took something out from his bag of holding and raised it above his head. Wang Lin's left hand reached out and took the thing in the old man's hand. This object was the thunder furnace. After putting away the thunder furnace, Wang Lin didn't leave. His eyes gazed off a strange light as he looked at the old man and slowly asked, "Would you exchange the spell you just used with me?" Mid-month, hoping to get the like button pressed for the video. Chapter 734 got a great bargain. The old man coldly snorted before he retreated and said, "I just stepped into the illusory yin stage 2 years ago. If I had a few more years, then no matter how much more treasures you have, you wouldn't be this old man's match." Wang Lin withdrew the scattered mountain soul and calmly said, "I am talking with you about exchanging this spell." The old man sneered. "Don't even think about it. You already took the thunder furnace, now leave quickly." Wang Lin's eyes narrowed, then he raised his right hand and a ray of black light immediately shot out. The moment the black light appeared, the old man felt like his life force was about to be drained. The black light charged out directly toward the cultivation planet and immediately disappeared. However, the old man's divine sense closely followed it and saw the black light land on a plain. The vegetation on the plain immediately withered before turning into countless strands of vitality that flew out from the cultivation planet and entered Wang Lin's body. Wang Lin calmly said, "This spell is named Finger of Death." The old man snorted and said, "If I hadn't reached the illusory yin stage, then it would be barely caught my eye, but right now it is worthless." Although he said this, in his heart he was secretly shocked at how tyrannical it was. He wasn't interested in the spell's power, but in its ability to absorb vitality. Wang Lin's right hand pointed once more and a demonic aura appeared around his fingertip. It shot out like a bullet and stopped before the old man. This spell is the demonic finger. It turns celestial spiritual energy into demonic energy. When used with the finger of death, its effect is even better. The old man stared at the black aura before him and began to ponder. He lifted his right hand and immediately caught it with his hand before scanning it with his divine sense. After a long time, he looked at Wang Lin and slowly said, "Rumor has it that people from planet Dongling are good at demonic aura spells. So you are from planet Dongling. However, this spell is still worthless." Wang Lin pondered a bit. Back then, what Situnan cared most about was the underworld finger. The old man was startled and his heart was filled with disbelief. Even though the spell had defects, it wasn't something Wang Lin could use for an exchange. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he raised his right hand and slowly said, This final spell is something I learned from a Nirvana Shatterer senior. If you still don't find it interesting, then forget about this matter. Wang Lin's mind gave a command, and then the celestial guard behind him turned into a ray of golden light and charged toward the cultivation planet. The puppet's movement caused the old man's expression to sink. Shortly after, the celestial guard returned with a fierce beast in its hands. The beast looked extremely ferocious, and its whole body was covered in thorns. It had the arm of a mortal in its mouth. Apparently, it was eating when the celestial guard caught it. Wang Lin's 2 fingers from his right hand formed a sword. He hadn't used the celestial slaughter art in a long time. The countless strands of slaughter energy he condensed back then were placed inside the puppet and were all consumed in a battle. However, Wang Lin still had a profound understanding of the celestial slaughter art. After all, he had cultivated the spell for more than 100 years. At this moment, he focused for a moment, and sword energy gathered in his finger. The ray of sword energy shot out into the beast, and the beast immediately let out a miserable groan. The old man's eyes suddenly widened as the beast quickly withered and turned into a skeleton. A strand of gray gas came out from the beast's corpse and wrapped around Wang Lin's fingers. Wang Lin flicked his finger, and the gray gas flew out. He then pointed at it, causing it to immediately change into a life seal and fly toward the old man. This spell is named the Celestial Slaughter Art. The old man was moved. His right hand reached out and grabbed the seal. His divine sense carefully examined the seal. The more he examined it, the more shocked he became. In the end, his eyes were glowing. With his cultivation, he was almost immediately able to see through the celestial slaughter art. The life seal obviously had a certain protective element, and the gray gas had offensive capabilities. Although it wasn't powerful, this spell could obviously be used many times and could be stored. This life seal is formed from the celestial slaughter art. It involves relying on slaughter to gather vitality and surrounding one with vitality to form life seals. The more life seals there are, the more powerful the defense will be. Back then, the senior who taught me the spell said that if one had 1 trillion life seals protecting them, then even if the cultivation planet collapsed, one would still be safe and sound. Wang Lin wasn't lying. This was exactly what the gray-robed all-seer told him. For the first time, the old man's expression revealed hesitation. It was obvious that this celestial slaughter art had moved him. With his insight, he could naturally see how powerful the celestial slaughter art was, and that it was not something ordinary cultivators could get a hold of. There was a certain credibility that this was learned from a Nirvana Shatterer senior. However, this third eye spell was a family inheritance, so it couldn't be casually taught to outsiders. The origin of the spell was unknown. It seemed to be something his ancestors had accidentally obtained. If it was the Alliance star system, a family like his would never be able to keep the spell to themselves. However, in the Alheaven star system, where families held power, almost each clan had inherited something, and those things were not easily taken. What was more important was that he was the first person to successfully learn it after his family had obtained it. Wang Lin waited for a moment. After seeing that the old man was still hesitating, he waved his sleeves and stepped toward the Thunder Beast. He then said, "Since fellow cultivator is still unwilling, then let's forget this matter." With that, the Thunder Beast under him turned into a bolt of thunder and flew off into the distance with the celestial puppet following closely after. The life seal in the old man's hand collapsed and became ash. As it dissipated, a wave was set off in the old man's heart. It felt like it should have been his spell, and it just was stolen away. Upon seeing Wang Lin disappearing into the distance, the old man's expression changed. He clenched his teeth and shouted, "Fellow cultivator, stop. I'll trade it for the celestial slaughter art along with the finger of death and demonic finger." Wang Lin stopped. The Thunder Beast let out a roar and turned around. It stopped 100 feet from the old man. Lightning came out of its nose, and its eyes were filled with disdain. The old man clenched his teeth and said, "Exchange. This old man agrees to your exchange, but you have to promise not to spread it to others." Wang Lin nodded. Without wasting any time, he took out 3 pieces of jade. After recording the details of the 3 spells, Wang Lin threw them out, not fearing that the old man would back out. The old man looked through them. Although his expression was neutral, he admired Wang Lin's actions in his heart. He also took out a jade and recorded the method for the third eye spell before throwing it at Wang Lin. However, He schemed and made a few alterations. If one cultivated according to this, there will be great hidden dangers in the future. Wang Lin caught the jade and examined it. He secretly tried the spell, and even spent painstaking effort to compare it to the moment when the third eye activated. He was immediately able to see through the issues, but he didn't point them out and simply nodded. Looking at the elder, Wang Lin felt somewhat bad. After all, he had gotten a great deal in this transaction. After hesitating a bit, he said, "Fellow cultivator, it is best not to cultivate more than 100,000 strands of slaughter energy, or else there might be great danger." After he said that, he immediately left as if he was in a rush to leave. The old man was startled before looking down at the jade in his hand. After pondering for a moment, he quickly returned to the cultivation planet with the others, and then immediately went into closed-door cultivation. He had cultivate as much as possible, so that he would be prepared for when the Thunder Celestial Realm opened in 1 month. Wang Lin sat on the back of the Thunder Beast with a strange expression on his face. He shook his head and said, "Trading 3 spells with problems for a spell with a hint of the third step seems a bit too much." A bit too much. Wang Lin looked at the jade in his hand, and a